Studio B. This is Sessions Untitled. I want to invite the spirit of the Most High and the ancestors in this place, giving thankfulness to the Most High and our divine ancestors. We here on St. Paul, 2429 St. Paul, Studio B. I got the beautiful Taija in this thing.
Thank you for having me.
Red, me and Taija met at the Mid-Atlantic Fashion event at the garage. And, you know, you was looking fly. Always looking fly. And I don't even know how we started talking, but we was talking. So,
Yeah. I think by the time, so to be honest, I probably had already had a couple drinks. But, but I remember talking to you briefly and then later going to your Instagram. And I was like, he's so beautiful. What? Oh. Then I was like, I want to like shoot with you. I thought you were a photographer at first. I was like, yeah, you know, like I'm going to get all cute. And then I met you here and then I was like, oh, he makes clothes. And then you told me about the sessions and you were like making music. I was like, what does he do? I'm confused. So
yeah.
You're a literal multi-hyphenate.
I am a photographer.
Oh, really?
I do shoot too.
Well, today years old, I know that now.
I thought we talked about that too, because we was talking about shooting. Yeah, we was talking about shooting, and I was like, yeah, we can do that. But I thought you were saying we could shoot together. I didn't know if you wanted me to shoot you.
Yeah, at first I thought that like you were a photographer and you was going to shoot me.
Mm-hmm.
But then I saw the clothes and I was like, oh, maybe he thought I meant I wanted to model. All the things. It could be all the things, right?
Yeah, I was just like, because in my mind, I was like, oh, we modeling together.
Okay.
You know, and shooting together.
That could be a vibe.
Yeah, that's where I was at with it.
Sounds like a planning session.
Yep.
Needs to happen.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because I was about to hit my photographer up and everything. Like, bro, we got some shit to do. We got some shit to do. Yeah.
I love that.
But yeah, so okay, yeah, we was doing that. So how did you even get involved with this council?
Oh, that's a good question. So right before COVID, I started the sustainable fashion blog called Zoe Elko.
Mm-hmm.
And I started with Ty, my best friend, photographer for Baltimore Magazine, Tyra Wilkins.
Baltimore Magazine.
Yeah, he shoots for Baltimore Magazine.
I didn't even know that. Okay, shout out to
like
Ty.
Famous.
Okay.
Yeah. Photojournalist. But yeah, so like it was 2018. I went to him and I was like, my ex, I was engaged at the time. He was like, you spending like thousands of dollars on clothes every month is nuts. I was like, you're right. I should make money for me because I'm not going to stop buying the thing, like, you know. And so I go to Ty. I was like, listen, if I could get free products, that would be really great for my life.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that was the goal. That was it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the first month I went to Target, I probably spent like $200 just on jewelry. It was crazy. Like, I just bought a bunch of stuff. And I was like, I don't know what kind of influencer I want to be, but I'm going to just, whatever's pretty, I'm going to just put it on and like post the pictures. And I got into the hashtag game.
Mm-hmm.
And 3 months later, this clean beauty box company in like the Midwest hit me up. They had like 50,000 followers. Mm-hmm. They're like, can we send you a box? Mm-hmm. So I called. I was like, oh my God. Mm-hmm. I was like, so I need you to do a photo shoot because I'm getting my first free thing. Yeah. I'm so excited. And so they were like, we're going to send you a box. What do you want in it? I was like, I get to choose what's in the box too? That's crazy. It's already free, right? Yeah. So I'm looking at all their brands, and there was this one brand called Axiology that was sold in like Sephora and Ulta, and their lipstick was in this gold packaging, and it just looked like high luxury. And I was like, I didn't care what else was in the box. I was like, can I have the Axiology lipstick? They're like, absolutely. So we do the photo shoot and get the Axiology lipstick in there. Looks like it's in a gold. It almost looks like the shape of like a crayon. But imagine a crayon if it was like for a goddess. So it has to be in a gold casing, right? And so he does the shoot, and he's like, hey, why don't you do like take the lipstick and like swatch it on your hand. And he made it into like a little boomerang, and I posted that in my stories and on my feed. And the founder, I didn't know it was the founder at the time because she was still running her Instagram, even though she had like 40,000 followers. She saw it. She DMs us. She's like, can I repost this? I was like, oh man, yes. I was like, yeah. So I had an intern, and I was like, send it to her right away. And Erica, who's the founder, was like, I tried to pull it from the page. It's pixelated. Can you just email me the actual, footage? I was like, we have Erica's email. So I told my intern, shout out to Dallas. I was like, Dallas, could you please ask Erica if we could interview her? She was like, oh my God, I would love to. And so I told Dallas, I was like, I think it would be really special if you interviewed her because she's Latina. Erica's Latina. I was like, you should have that connection.
Yeah, that
right?
connect. Yeah.
And it was phenomenal. It was fucking phenomenal. Erica did this really beautiful interview talking about how I think she was living in like Burma with her boyfriend. And it's like the story just keeps getting better as it gets deeper, right? So she was living in Burma with her boyfriend in the middle of this village where if you threw the trash outside, like took your trash from your house and put it outside, there's no waste management system to come collect it, so it just sit there. And the women in the village were tired of it. They're like, yo, it stink. Like, and this whole burning the trash thing is getting to be also gross.
Right.
And so the women started taking the trash that could be reused, and we're making all kinds of beautiful things out of it. So she hired them to make the fucking gold casings that I was obsessed with. I was like, what? That's insane. Like,
that's crazy.
So I fell in love with the sustainable fashion movement because women of color all across the world, low key, are supporting each other to make the dopest shit. And I was like, yo, the way that we like are coming up together is amazing. And it really comes from this spirit of, partially from like the ancestors, because we all share this global heritage of certain things. Like, I was talking to another Latina founder who, the name of the brand is escaping me, but she wound up sending us a couple of handbags and like a little fanny pack that was made out of cork. I was like, it felt like butter leather. Okay. I was like, how do you make leather out of cork? And she was like, oh, and it also oxidizes the air. I said, now my handbag oxidizes the fucking air.
Wow.
Wet. So
that's fire.
Yeah. So I was telling her about how, for me, I got into the interest of sustainable fashion because my auntie was a hardcore thrifter. And I was very much like, I need everything new or I'm not wearing it. And I was so spoiled as a child. It was crazy. But yeah, we'll talk about that a little bit later. Okay. But when I got to 12th grade, I wanted to wear designer clothes. And my mother was not spending hundreds of dollars on nothing. And so my aunt reached out to all her friends and was like, if you wear like a 2 or a 4, give me all your shit that you don't want. I'm gonna give it to Taija. Like, just did a call to her girlfriends, to the community, right? Came back with like 4 big ass like 10-gallon trash bags of clothes. I was like, So first I was offended because I was like, I don't need that. What do you mean? And then I started opening. I was like, oh my God, it's J. Crew. Oh my God, it's Calvin Klein. Like, everything was named. I was like, you know what? I love this. It's great. So it was like, instead of having to go to a thrift store, it came to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember telling, I don't know. Listen, my life is, it did. My life is crazy, but I'm telling this founder, the one who made the handbags out of cork, the story. And she was like, oh, like, mi abuelas and mi tias, like, same.
Mm-hmm.
Same story. And I was like, really? Like, you have the same experience? She was like, yeah. And I was like, you know, I really, really believe that women of color, black women, Latino women, whatever, you know, we created a sustainable fashion movement. Like, you can't tell me any different. And so I was in this very unique position because the beauty box that got me my start, that made me credible in the space, also got me a lot of attraction from sustainable fashion companies that were started by white women. So they were mostly the companies I was working with.
Okay.
And a few people started asking could they do interviews with me. And I was like very candid. I was like, y'all ain't start this shit. Like, thank you for joining the movement, but you're late to the party, you know? And so I don't know why they dealt with me, but like they did. And we were all great friends. But no, like what I learned was the woman who cares about what she eats, like what she puts in her body, what she puts on her body because of chemicals, like what's going on with the environment. It doesn't matter what race she is because she has the same daily habits. She has the same type of core values. And so that was where we started to align. And so I say it jokingly, like, I don't know why the white girls like me, but they like me because like they would tell me their stories of like, fuck the establishment. And I'm like, oh, you down? You woke. I love it. You know? Because that's my story too. Also, fuck the establishment. I don't like it. I don't like it here. They're like, you know the problem with corporate America? I'm like, tell me more.
Right. Right.
I don't know. What is wrong? So, so yeah, like low key is this whole like social justice movement going on that was not just about what we hear in mainstream culture now of like, oh, your clothes are made out of plastic, shop, you know, biodegradable materials, there's so much more to the conversation that honestly is still getting lost. And like I said, it started in 2018. So I know it's a very long way of getting to the question that you asked. Now I don't even remember what the question was. Okay. But you asked how I got into the Mid-Atlantic Fashion Council. So basically, I'm in this space. I'm meeting all these amazing founders. COVID hits, and all of a sudden, sustainable fashion goes mainstream. My blog's getting content that's going viral. We're covering brands from around the world, honestly. Like we covered a bunch of brands in Australia and Europe, and what we started to see when we zoomed out on the map was it was all of the countries or the cities that were most affected environmentally by climate change that cared and were really the epicenters of the sustainable fashion movement turning into this global phenomenon that we know now. So there were two things that really happened that made it like pop. One was the fact that the shutdown happened, which meant people couldn't be outside. And so I had maybe like 3 interns by this time. So we're making a lot of content. We're probably doing like 1 article a day at this point. I'm a corporate girly. Like if I'm gonna do it, it's gonna turn into a business. That's what happens. But so we're doing 1 article a day at this point, and so like I think 2 or 3 of my interns were in LA. Like they live there, and they were like, the weirdest thing is happening, but there's no smog. I was like, what does that mean? No smog? What do you mean? They were like, you know, like on the interstate, like usually it's super smoggy, and there's none. I was like, can you send me a picture? They sent me a picture, so I go Google it. Sure enough, fucking smoke's gone.
Mm-hmm.
Because no cars are on the road. So what that told me and everybody else, honestly, is all of these environmental issues that we accept as like, it has to be this way, it doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
And it could be fixed real fast.
Mm-hmm.
But we have to change our habits,
Mm-hmm.
like as a society and not just as an individual, because individual changes, unfortunately, aren't substantial enough. And that was when people started to notice. And then the LA fires happened.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like the biggest fire that's happened in, like, I don't want to lie, I feel like it was like over 100 years. It spread from, oh, I can't remember what part of LA it was, but I know it spread across like 3 states, and it burned like hundreds of acres of land. And my intern, who was leading all the other interns, Dallas, there is an interview that I did with her on my Instagram on Zoe, like in the middle of the fires, where I'm asking her, I'm like, what are the living conditions like? Like, are you okay? And she was like, I have to wear a face mask just to even open my door. And like, honestly, it's smoggy. Like, she was like, the smoke inhalation is a lot. And she had to leave her home because it started as like a lightning storm.
Mm-hmm.
And the lightning then caught leaves on fire.
Mm-hmm.
And trees in her neighborhood. And she was like, literally, they just had to like immediately evacuate. And I was like, I could not imagine everything around me catching fucking fire. I would be terrified. Fire travels fast.
Yeah.
And then she had to, you know, some people had to live in hotels.
Mm-hmm.
And they couldn't even really take any clothes, because it's not like with a flood where you can kind of prepare. It's like, the shit happening right now, I gotta go, you know? So a lot of companies were sending clothes, supplies to LA. And I was like, you know, it was just really beautiful to see this global community coming together. And it was almost like an out of body experience, because now that everything has gone back to normal since COVID is over, we've gone back to this very localized way of seeing social justice or environmental issues.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that moment in time was really special. So that's how I got into fashion. It allowed me to do work with some large companies.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really how I wound up pitching to Derek for the Mid-Atlantic Fashion Council. So I went to the Met Gala reveal party in January of last year, and he was like, anybody who wants to help with building this out, come talk to me. And he was like, we're looking for sponsorship, da da da. So I went to him and I was like, hey, I do business development. I'd love to help with finding sponsors for the Met Gala. And he's like, okay, let's talk. And then he gave me his info. I didn't follow up, I'm not gonna lie, because I was intimidated, to be honest. And then Ken Hall, who owns Omri International, me and Ty we went to a party we got invited to with Ainsley Burroughs, who is one of Derek's close friends. I didn't know. And Ty was like, you know, it'd be really cool if we like did something here. And I was like, let me go talk to Ainsley. That's me. I'm like,
Ainsley spot.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, Ainsley, have you ever had or thought about having like a fashion component here? He was like, no, but that would be dope. I don't know any designers. I was like, I know the designers, don't worry.
Mm-hmm.
So I go to Ken, I asked Ken if he would do the show, and I give him this whole pitch. I don't even know Ken, right? Like, invite him to dinner in my living room.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, sounds interesting, I'll do it. And they loved it. They loved it so much they did it every other they did it every other show. So all of the, oh my gosh, I forgot what they call their kickbacks.
You talking about the soiree?
The art soiree, thank you, yes. So every art soiree last year, they had a fashion component because of Ken and us like doing our presentation. And during that presentation, there was this beautiful woman there named Renee Irving, and she runs the Queen Sisterhood Society. So she comes up, she was like, "You're so cute. I would really like to work with you. We should go to lunch." And so we go to lunch. She tells me about Queen Sisterhood Society. She's like, "I also think you should meet my friend Derek." So she sends me his Instagram, and I was like,
It's the same dude.
yeah, I was like, oh my god. Well, I wanted to like get in touch with him anyway. Yeah, so Derek agreed to have lunch with me and Renee. And at the lunch, he's like, "What did you think about the Met Gala reveal?" He's like, "Did you go to the Met last year?" I was like, "Yeah, everything was really beautiful. I really loved it." He was like, "Okay, so how would you make it better?" And I gave him this whole pitch, and he was like, "I've been looking for you." And I was like, "Really?" He's like, "Yeah." And I told him, you know, essentially what I told him in that moment was what the Mid-Atlantic Fashion Council is now starting to be. I said, you know, having a event like the Met is amazing, but it means nothing if there is no infrastructure to support designers on an everyday basis.
Right.
There needs to be a convening for designers to get together, to do policy work, to learn about the newest and greatest in the trade, to be able to get opportunities to do national and international fashion shows, like the things that really make a fashion industry in a particular city pop, you know? And he was like, "Okay, I want to introduce you to someone." And he immediately does a text to former Mayor Pugh. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, I wanted to like knock the phone out of his hand, like, stop it. You ever have something happen, you just like, I'm not prepared for this. I was not even prepared to talk to you. I'm definitely not qualified to talk to her. He was like, "No, text her and tell her about yourself."
Yeah.
And then she texts right back, so now I gotta do it. Like, I was just going procrastinate my way out of that, but then I couldn't, because now he's staring at me waiting for me to text her.
But she chill though.
She was chill. She was super
that know her.
sweet.
She chill.
Super sweet auntie, okay? Every time I visit her, she's like, "Would you like tea?" I'm like, "Oh, this woman's so nice." But yeah, that's how we started the conversation, and I told him what I needed, and he was amazing at bringing the resources to the table, and in a lot of ways, like, putting me in the middle of leadership. And I didn't want that, to be honest. Like, a lot of times when I come into leadership, I don't want to be the one who is the head of the thing. Not because I don't think I can be. I just know that it comes with a lot of responsibility. And so I was like, "Okay, I'm going to support you." And he's like, "I got 20 things to do, so I'm going to support you." And so, yeah, I fought it all year. And then the end of the year came, and we had some trials and tribulations with starting the thing in general. Just because we had been working with BOPA, and BOPA, yeah. So, RIP, but then resurrected, you know what I'm saying? So so the fashion department at BOPA got dissolved when the city officially acquired it.
Right.
And that really changed a lot of the plans of like what we were going to be doing over the next 5 years. And who we were going to be doing it with. And so there came this moment, and I'm saying it like it was 20 years ago. It was like literally a couple months ago. But there came this moment where I was like, do I try to do this based on how everybody thinks I should do it? Or do I build this thing in the way that like God's calling me to do it? And So I prayed. Honestly, I prayed and I was just like, everything felt really heavy. It felt like too much responsibility. It felt like the institution that made me feel secure in doing it has now changed. The mentor who brought me in is like, you got this, you know? Um, so I was kind of mad at God. I was like, for the people who are religious, like, it was a Jacob moment. Like, we wrestling because I don't understand why you brought me here.
Right.
And if there's a blessing, what's the blessing? And if it's not, then like, okay, why you punking me?
Right.
So, prayed on it and just started to move a little bit differently, more in my own personal areas of strength.
Mm-hmm.
And we've been getting a lot of traction since the beginning of the year, since I made that pivot of being like, okay, instead of trying to, I wanted to focus on the events, and Derek was pushing it really hard because that's his genius. Like,
The event thing.
yeah, they do Jazzy Summer Nights, they do the Met Gala, like all of these really big, high profile events in the city.
Mm-hmm.
And that is super important. But I'm really great at storytelling.
Yeah.
Like, that's my genius.
Yeah.
Storytelling and just communing with people. Like, the same way that I come and I sit with you and you're like, does that mean I'm special? You are special. I'm not even joking. Like, seriously, you're special. It's important to sit with people and to get to know them and to love them genuinely. Like, I don't think that a association, labor union, any type of trade organization from that's built in a grassroots way can be built without love. Like, that's not a thing. Because we were trying that already. You know what I'm saying? Like, we were trying to just do it the corporate way, and that doesn't work. And I also just don't think that that is inherently Afrocentric.
Yeah.
Like, one of the things that I'm really appreciating after having left corporate is that it's really hard to be successful as a Black business owner and try to do things in a inherently Eurocentric way. If not impossible, because you have to even start it, you have to reject parts of your identity. How the fuck can you be excellent? How can you be great? How can you tap into your own inner divinity when you are rejecting parts of you?
Yeah. That's
The
so
two
real.
things don't make sense. They counterbalance each other. So
Right.
so part of this journey also for me has been healing things that I learned in corporate culture about what it means to be a Black person in leadership or a Black woman in leadership. And then part of this experience has also been about taking up space as a woman in leadership here. Like, when you take away the layer of like, okay, I'm not fuck with doing it the white people way, right? And then you start being like, okay, well, what are the Afrocentric, what are the inherently African ways of doing business? Like, me and Ty talk about this all the time. It's almost like another little world in Baltimore, right? It is very communal. Like, people won't do business with you. Black people who've been in business for a long time and they've had a lot of success, they won't do business with you if they can't eat dinner with you. If they can't take you to their wives or their husbands or to their kids' birthday party play, da-da-da.
Yeah.
And I pray for that, to be honest.
Right.
Like, when I had the company, so this is my second time, like, starting a company. When I had Zoe L and we were doing the agency then, I made 6 figures. And that was substantial because I think the stat is something like 15% of women-owned companies ever make 6 figures. And I did it in my first year, right? Shout out to white people for teaching me how to balance a spreadsheet. I shouldn't say that because I feel like old coworkers are gonna be like, she's wild. But I worked at this agency in Hamden, and the CEO was like, yeah, I bought this building back when the KKK was still. Yeah. I was like, why are you saying that to me? You didn't have to tell me that. And now I think you're racist. It's weird.
Right.
So that was the company, like they hired me to be a project manager, but they actually had me do account management.
Mm-hmm.
So every day, every month, all I was doing was looking at spreadsheets and numbers. I was like, I don't know what this is.
Mm-hmm.
Help. And they were like, oh, you don't know how to like add and subtract and divide and multiply? I was like, obviously I can do those things. I just don't know how to make it do what you want me to do.
Right.
So by the grace of God, there was this guy there who saw me struggling. It was like study hauling it with me. And then eventually he realized that the other white people were shaming him because they didn't want him to hold me, so he stopped. But it was a great start. I'm really thankful for... I try to give gratitude a lot because I think humility is really important to staying in alignment with, you know, the God that you serve. I'm thankful for being put into this challenging place of leadership. And I'm thankful for having the audacity to believe that I could do it. I'm thankful for the amazing community of folks like you who I get to support. Like, I think what makes it all worth it for me is that the people that I'm doing this for actually are fucking amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the art is fucking beautiful. You know what I'm saying? I feel like I want to wear everybody's shit. Like, I don't have enough money to buy it, but I want it. So, you know, when that happens, I'm going to buy everybody's stuff. But, yeah. All right, I'm done.
Oh, man. You brought up a couple things, but you brought up some fashion when you was a kid and how you always wanted to sit brand new and So you was, even before this fashion stuff, you was already interested in fashion as a kid.
Yeah, so I actually put up a post today because I did a panel at University of Maryland that was it was about like the legacy of, you know, the last 10 years since Freddie Gray was killed and how was the city transformed. And on the panel I talked about my family's legacy in fashion. Like, they were some fly ass people, okay? Like, my grandmama is gonna live in infamy for her flyness. My older cousin, who has the Singer sewing machine that I want, he's an engineer. He does not care, okay? His wife is a lawyer. They're not making anything. But anyways, I digress. I went to his house, and he was like, yeah, I have the family heirloom. I was like, what is the family heirloom? He was like, the sewing machine. You don't know? I was like, what sewing machine? He's like, oh, well, our great-grandfather, you know, Brooks had it and then gave it to Nana, which is my grandma. And his older brother had it, but he passed away. Rest his soul. And he was like, so now I have it. And I was like, show me the sewing machine because I don't believe you. And he shows me. He was like, well, it's broken. I'm going to get it fixed. But here it is. And immediately I was like, I want the sewing machine. But also, like, those sewing machines, amazing that you have one, they look like art. They're beautiful.
Yes.
Like, the wood table that they're on is beautiful. The fucking machine is like gorgeous. I was like, it could just sit like a little museum piece in my house. Okay.
Right.
But yeah, my grandma was a seamstress and just like amazing stylist. I remember I used to just watch her get dressed in the morning. And in a lot of ways, she embodied like the things that the girlies say are like the soft life. She did that every day. Like, that's how she flowed through her day. So she wake up every morning, she take her shower, she come out, she like oil herself down. I don't know if you remember back in the day with the powder, that was a thing. She was like powder, right? And then she would get her different perfumes, and she would like, you know, da, da. And then she would put on like a little silky robe kind of thing and like a little slip, because she would wear a slip under every single dress.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, she never a hair out of place or anything.
Mm-hmm.
Like gorgeous, always got her nails done. But it wasn't like I'm doing this for other people. It was always, this is what brings me peace in my heart. And as a child, like I went through some things, and my grandmother's house was the one place where I could feel safe in my body. Watching her feel safe in her body allowed me to know what that felt like. And I would watch her like put her rings on. So I wouldn't play in her makeup or anything, but I'd always put her jewelry on. She has so much jewelry, and I just play everywhere, right? And I was like, Grandma, I want this ring. She's like, you can have it when I pass away. You're going to get all my jewelry, right? And I was like, yeah. And unfortunately, I didn't get to inherit her her wardrobe. I really wanted to. I got like a couple of her pieces, but a lot of my style is still like inspired by hers. So she wore a lot of dusters, a lot of like long dresses. She also was like really curvy. I'm not a curvy girl. So I can't really do the body cons, but so much because I'm very like small. But I do try to like incorporate her legacy. Like I like silky dresses. They make me feel really beautiful, really
you got
sexy,
a real
feminine.
vibe with
Thank
your
you.
style.
Yeah. So yeah, and then like my dad dresses to the nines. He was really into music, ironically. And he talked about how as a kid, because he, like my grandma and grandfather dressed him so well that when his older brothers took him to the concerts, they thought they were the kids of the band members.
Right.
They were like, oh, like your parents are there.
Yeah.
And so they would always get in. Like they figured out that if they just like went along with it, it'd be cool. And so he was telling me how he met like Earth, Wind, and Fire, like all the like George Clinton, the Funkadelics, like I was like, off of clothes.
Yeah.
He was like, yeah. I said clothes. Okay. Anyways, but honestly, it's real. It is something that I've experienced too. Like when you dress fully in how you feel and you lean into that, people are like, I want to like touch it. I want to touch that feeling. I want it near me in my presence, you know? And so fashion for me on a very personal level is my art form to be able to do self-care, to self-express, to be authentic, like in the most oppressive of work situations I've ever been in. My clothes are the one thing where I could be like, I don't give a fuck. Like, you cannot force me to not wear it. Like, I worked at this one place. I won't say where, but I worked at this one place, and only white men were there, and like I was in a marketing department. There was like 50 people. Only black person out of 50. And this one day I was like, you know, I could get really fucking cute here. Who gonna stop me? Nobody. So I started wearing like, it looked like I was going to happy hour. That's how I was dressing. Or a club. Maybe cocktail hour, actually. I don't know. I was wearing like 6-inch heels every day, fucking full beat. Like dusters, I mean, this everything, right? And I had this one, I'm like leading a team. One of the guys on the team was like, he gave me this look, and I was like, don't look at me like that. And he was like, Taija's our goddess. And I was like, I probably went too hard on the feminine energy. It's too much. Okay, I really did a little bit.
They need to start bowing.
Like he felt what I was going for. I was going for regal femininity. But it was concentrated, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that was my way of being like, I get to keep my identity.
Mm-hmm.
That was a place I was always afraid to wear like fake hair or anything like that. But I did have natural hair. And I remember one time I got my hair flat ironed and they were like, finally, her hair's done. I was like, y'all will never see it like that again. Like, you get in the bush every day. So,
Oh, y'all got me fucked up.
listen, you get in the bush every day so you can understand. Okay.
Right.
And
Oh, hell no.
listen, one of my coworkers, so finally I did break down and I got like a crochet situation. And I'm leading a meeting. It's like 10 people in the meeting. And it's the creatives of the fucking company, okay?
Right,
Like, it's
right.
graphic designers and photographers. And one of the graphic designers is like, how did you get that in your head? I was like, girl. But at this point, I already came for the smoke anyway. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing. You feel me? So the only other person of color in the room is like, stop it. I said, no, let her do it.
Uh-huh.
He wasn't black. I was like, don't try to save her.
Okay.
Let her say what she gonna say. She was like, thank you, Taija. She thought I was in that live. I was not. I just wanted to hear what she was gonna say.
Right.
So she says, so how did you get that in your head? I said, my hair? Like, it grew out of my head? What do you mean? She said, no, like the other hair. So my other coworker, because they couldn't sit back and watch it happen, is like, stop it. It's a weave. Let it go. And then she looks at them and says, don't give me your ghetto knowledge. I said, wow. You went so hard. And so I was like, and then they're literally trying to like muffle her. I was like, no, let her. I was like, it's not a weave. It's called a crochet. It's crochet braids. And she was like, okay, but like, how did you get it in there? And I was like, I braided my hair. And then I took like a little crochet needle. And then I took the hair and I pulled the hair through. And then I looped it on itself. And then it looks like this. She was like, wow. That's like magic. It's amazing. And I was like, now that we did that, can we do the meeting?
Right.
And she was like, yeah, that's fine. And by lunchtime, it was amazing. By lunchtime, another white girl comes to me. She was one of my favorite girls there. Comes and she says in front of this girl, she was like, was it as mortifying? Because I missed the meeting, and I'm sorry I did. But what she said, was it actually as mortifying as what they said? Because I wish I was there. And the girl's like, it was then when she realized that she had fucked up, actually. And she was like, oh, my God. And then she went and she talked to her manager, who told her for all the things that she had said, I could take her to HR. And she came back, she was like, I didn't know that I was being culturally insensitive and that you could go to HR for that. And I am so sorry that I ever said those things. I feel so ashamed. She did not, but that's another story. Anyways,
right.
So.
You got to save that ass.
But I just felt like it was cool that I was starting conversations through literally just existing. Like right. It wasn't like I was like, let me pull out the PowerPoint about black hair or femininity or whatever. It was just people were energetically moved by the things they were experiencing through me. And it drew a natural curiosity. The way the curiosity got brought up was questionable. But I think that it's important to continue to, like, as a part of my legacy, continue to invite these really uncomfortable conversations. So right now I'm in a very black space in terms of artistry, just with this being a black city. But the things that I'm talking about, one of the questions that I asked at the panel, and I would love to actually pose to you, right? What you think of this. There was someone at the panel who said, or in the audience, he was like, what is one question you wish would have been asked that didn't get asked. And I said, why is it okay for slave labor to exist in no other industry but the arts? Like, why do we expect artists to work for no fucking money? It's crazy. And I was like, we don't expect that in any other space.
Right.
But your homie make a t-shirt and you like give it to me for free because you the homie. I'm going to post it on Instagram. Like, yeah, Calvin Klein maybe could afford to give you a free t-shirt, but your homie paid for that.
Yes.
And probably is working 20 jobs to make that dream come true.
Yes.
Like, just pay for the $20 fucking t-shirt.
Right.
You know? Like, I intentionally, as I was getting dressed today, I was like, I could wear anything, but I want to wear something that is from a local designer. Honestly, I only have a few things from local designers. I need more things, but like, Ken Hall did make this dress for me, my birthday 2 years ago, and I was always really afraid. I don't know. Listen, I'd be like, make it sexy, and then he'd be doing things. I'm like, too sexy. I don't want my boobs to show. I was like really self-conscious about my body, like up until probably this past year. But today I put the dress on, and I usually wear like a little bra situation under it. I was like, I put this on and I was like, why don't I just see what it's supposed to look like without the bra? And I put it on and I was like, it's actually really beautiful.
Yeah. And
I wish that I had worn it the right way all the other times. Like, I wish I hadn't been so self-conscious. And I think that is fashion. Like, that is the beauty of it. Like, even in your own personal fucking mind, you got to question yourself. Like, why? What are the political views or the cultural views or whatever it is that makes me think that if I wear this thing, it's going to be wrong or it is right or it is whatever? We're making all of these statements with our clothes. So, but I'm curious, what do you think?
About the slave aspect of slave and artistry?
Whatever touches your soul.
Yeah, because when it comes to the first aspect that you talked about, like I find it funny that you even said it like that, because part of my mission as an artist, but as a leader and as a facilitator and a business owner and stuff like that, and just as a person that I am, that I do, like, part of my mission is to change the narrative and to reestablish the new norm of how artists and musicians are to be dealt with. And it's like, it's two-sided, right? Because one side goes to what you already talked about our indigenous ways of doing business outside of the corporate world, Eurocentric world, being more in community and building an infrastructure within ourselves and within our community. And then on the other side is putting up a hard front, right? A hard front that we present to the corporate world so that these other motherfuckers that don't understand. And you know what? I would want to bring Phil up so he could talk about this a little bit too, because he's doing some work with the way he's working too. But it's interesting because I was just talking to my man Kenny, who played guitar with us at the fashion show. He used to live in Ethiopia for 17 years, and he was doing fashion, making bags, producing music and stuff like that.
Oh, is he the one that makes the bags?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, dope.
Yeah. He had on one of those Ethiopian pieces, but he was talking about how in Ethiopia the musicians, they like slaves for real over there. Like they're not like slaves, but like they don't look at musicians and artists like worse than we do over here. Like the musicians over in Ethiopia, the hierarchy, there's no middle class. There's either rich or poor. So like the rich people will pay the artists to come play for 4 hours, and that's just their entertainment. But they not really looking at how deep and divine. Like they're literally, freestyling on, traditional instruments. They playing traditional instruments, but then they freestyling, like talking about the people in the room, and like how, a rapper will freestyle about what's going on in the room. They were doing that in Ethiopia, but they weren't giving them their just due and really looking at the magic that's made through the art. So even over here, putting up a hard front. I remember I was supposed to be doing this. I had this art exhibition that I've been working on since like 2018, 2019, and somebody that was working at Baltimore City Hall wanted us to do it there, and we put it on her desk, put the pitch deck on her desk, and it sat for like 4 or 5 months. But then out of nowhere, she called my partner like, "Oh, we got to do this. We got to do this." And I knew it was coming with some bullshit. But long story short, I'm gonna call it out. I don't give a fuck. The mayor of Baltimore, Brandon Scott, at this point, he put out a thing to the city that he wanted to show that he supported artists in Baltimore. So the person that was our connect, she's now fired, but our connect to Baltimore City Hall, she wanted to put our show on at City Hall so she could take all the credit and then show that, whatever, and heed the call for the mayor. So, but when she first said this, I'm thinking, in my mind, I'm like, all right, they must have some money. And my thing is, I wanted every artist to get paid because it was an art show. I was bringing like 14 visual artists, but it also was around my two bands. I was going to have two bands perform in one night and then have both of the bands play together. One was more of a straight ahead type feel. The other was more of a groovy R&B-ish, jazz avant type feel, and have both of those groups play together. So musicians, they not gonna play for free for the most part, unless it's a community vibe, unless we doing it for us. If we're doing a thing, we not playing without getting paid, right? Even if, and there's even levels to that, but we not getting paid. So now sometimes visual artists do art shows without getting paid. I'm like, I'm not gonna pay these musicians and not pay the artists that's involved. Everybody getting paid. Like, if I'm gonna do this thing, everybody getting paid. So that was one of my non-negotiables. Now my partner that I was planning this thing with, he was like, "Oh, we can just do this first thing and get the ball rolling, and it could be a tester and da da da." But I was standing on business. I'm like, "Look, bro, part of my mission is this, and I'm not going to do no big shit, even if it's not as big as I want it. I'm still not going to do this without giving some type of stipend, some type of, situation to them." So he ended up. Now this person never talked to me directly about the project. They was talking to me about everything else but this project. So when he brought up some of the things about, everybody getting paid, she was like, "Oh, yeah, the city is going to pay for the food, pay for this, pay for that, but they're not going to pay y'all. Like, they're not giving y'all money directly. They'll pay for everything."
It's always wild to me when organizations are like, "There's no money, but it is going to be white tablecloth hors d'oeuvres. There will be free alcohol. It will be parking vouchers for this $20 an hour garage."
Mm-hmm.
But we are broke.
Yeah.
Where? What part of the broke is broken?
You feel me? And it's like that. It goes back to what you said: slaving for free. You want us to show up. Oh, you think feeding us is enough? You think food being there is enough? You think us being in the room? Period. Baltimore City Hall was a place where they sold slaves. That motherfucking plot of grass and land. Slaves. Our bodies were sold in that spot, right? And it's like, I'm not about to come in this motherfucker doing that shit. Especially, and that was a place I didn't even want to do it at, right? Because the spaces that they showed us on the first floor, it was ugly. I wasn't doing that shit. But then there was a space on the basement level. It was like a circle with a circle outside of it, but it was a brick. and the ceilings was like almost this high, a little bit taller than this. So it's like a dungeon, right? So I was like, oh, I'm doing it in here. Because if I'm doing it in here, I'm bringing all these white motherfuckers and all these other motherfuckers in my dungeon. This is going to be my fucking quarters. You feel me?
You trying to make a statement.
You feel me?
Yeah.
But then when me and my partner was coming upstairs and the security guards was like, we was talking about it and the security guards was like, oh, the public can't go down there. That's not open to the public. I was like, well, I guess I'm not doing this shit here. You feel me? But regardless, point being, it's interesting that you brought up what you brought up about, you know, them expecting us to be slaves, because that's part of my main mission with what I'm doing here in Studio B, you know, creating a community,
Yeah.
bringing us together, you know, and creating community to where, you know, I got a full sound system. Me and my people was talking about, yo, like, I will show up and run sound for whoever. We can pull up in the middle of the street and put on our own shows. We don't need these venues. We don't need these major venues. We don't need these major whatever. This is a venue. You feel me? Like, and I'm opening my doors for free. And it's like, some people have taken advantage of that already. I've interviewed, oh shit.
I done got you in your in your bag.
In my bag. But fuck it, yo. I've interviewed some people, you know, and they turned around and tried to like treat me like I was doing too much for trying to just take the credit that I deserve for what I did. You feel me? Like, oh, why is your name on this? Because it's my gig and it's my motherfucker. You feel me? And it's like, and it was wild because I'm the one that put you onto this. Nobody would even know you in this motherfucking realm or seen you if it wasn't for me. But you getting mad because it's billed as a certain, you feel me? So it's like people, but that goes to other types of communities and the entitlement that comes with certain communities, because certain communities get this certain type of entitlement where they feel like, oh, you got to do this, you got to do that. And they apply that to everything.
So there's a couple of things to what you just said. And this is really my main point of everything that I'm doing in the work right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Mid-Atlantic Fashion Council for me is a people's movement.
Mm-hmm.
So I said at the end of last year, I was praying to God. I was like, you know, is this a trap?
Mm-hmm.
Am I being catfished?
Right.
Because the question that came up, what I was being accused of was not doing this for the people.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that I said was, I'm not a fucking designer. Like, why would I give so many hours of my life to build some shit that I'm not even technically going to benefit from, right?
Mm.
If it weren't for the love of the people doing it. Like, if it, and honestly, the reason why my sense of determination can't be shaken is because it's divine anyway.
Right.
You can't take my legacy away from me. I know my life, my history. I know where my people came from. You know what I'm saying? I know the sacrifices my grandparents made, and even further back than that, for me to even be here. So I'm not doing it for you.
Mm-hmm.
So you could be here or not be here. I don't give a fuck.
Right.
Right? But what I do know is that in my legacy, in the artistry of my family, everybody, like my grandma was very big on running my money and run it correctly.
Mm-hmm.
Like their house, my grandparents' house was paid for by the time she passed away, like all the way paid off. I had money in an insurance account. Didn't know that. You know what I'm saying? Like she was thinking about my credit score. I'm not even her daughter. I'm her granddaughter. You know what I'm saying? Like I was talking about that at the panel at University of Maryland too. I was like, I went to go buy a car when I was like 19. I took my grandfather with me because I'm like, I definitely need a cosigner. I'm a child. And they were like, oh, you shouldn't put him on there because you got better credit than him. I said, let me see the said 720. I said, what? I don't even have credit. They're like, yeah, you do. So I called my cousin and he's explaining, you know, remember, because my grandmother, she was born in 1929. So that's the year of the Great Depression, like when the stock market crashed. And so she grew up in that generation of like, fuck banks, we don't trust it. Like, you hold on to your money, you put it, she used to take the money, put it in napkins, and put the napkins under the mattress. Like, each napkin meant a bill. And instead of putting money in the bank, she would put it into insurance policies, because that was one of the only things during the crash that still held its value. And so she took out a policy for me. And so I went to college and I was like, I'm broke as shit. I'm going to have to drop out or something. And I called my cousin, and I didn't really understand money. I didn't understand affluence. Like, I didn't know that my family had this really rich art history. But I called him because I knew he was paying my cell phone bill, and he always bought me nice shit. And he was like, no, you have money. Grandma's been putting money away for you, like, since you were born.
Yeah.
He was like, why do you think she was always taking you to State Farm? I was like, I don't know. And sure enough, like, she was putting money away for me. And so I didn't have the money because my grandfather had taken it out. But I at least got to keep the really great credit score. And so I've experienced both things in my own family. Like, I've experienced having really great financial literacy, being able to build a career in the arts. Like, my older cousins, they're like my big brothers. I don't have any older brothers, so they were my big brothers. And both of them went to make multiple six figures. Like, not little six, like 400, 600,000 from fucking, like, DJing, from putting on concerts in DC and things like that. And then we're able to go and buy real estate and become millionaires. You know what I'm saying? So, like, the audacity, the, like, fuck with me if you want to, that I have, is because, number one, I've already experienced it in my own family, and them niggas from Baltimore.
Right.
From the west side. Side, okay? And on top of that, like, even though they did all those things, they made sure to teach me the financial literacy. Like, if I call my cousin right now, he's gonna be like, hello, so let me tell you about the bonds that I did, or did you see that stock just, and I'm like, like, I told him I was getting into sustainable fashion, luxury fashion, and he, again, not into fashion, but he knew everything about how the stocks were doing. I was like, how you know what the stock's doing? He's like, oh, because I be watching it.
Right.
Okay. Right. All right, sir. So the ism that I'm experiencing is, and I don't want to say it like the men in the space have not been super fucking welcoming and giving me space to be in leadership. Absolutely. But because there aren't a lot of women leading in this space, there are things that y'all won't understand that, like, I experience because I'm the only, or one of the only in the room. And those are the kind of things that I'm advocating for now. I'm like, we just need more women here to, like, have a diversity of thought. Like, when we think of diversity as Black people in 2025, because racism is just so prevalent, we're still thinking, like, well, everybody's Black and that's great. And it's like, but if you don't think about, like, the feminine perspective too, even just from an energetic perspective, like, it's going to be, things are going to be off balance. And so, yeah, I've been advocating for fuck poverty. Everybody should get paid. I've been advocating for just diversity. Like, don't say you're for diversity, but then you're not practicing it. And then, last but not least, just bringing it full circle to the sustainable fashion, like how the movement became mainstream. It became mainstream because American consumers became fucking appalled by the fact that they were buying clothes made from slave labor. Yet your local artist is slave laboring to bring you a great time, great clothes, make beautiful art on the buildings that you drive past every day.
Yeah.
And you don't look at it like that because there's social services and shit. Fuck that. Just pay them the fucking money.
Yeah.
Like, pay your local artist. It's not that hard. Anyway, so that's how I feel. And I will keep saying it. I know that we're really lucky, like, me and Ty and our agency, like I said, I had one business and then we started this one. And again, we were able to make 6 figures. But I had to really advocate for it because he wanted to come in. And I say this because Ty would, we've had many conversations about it, so he wouldn't feel away. But like when we first started, because the culture in the city is, you want to get on? What you going to do for me?
Mm-hmm.
He was like, oh, I need this opportunity. We need this opportunity because whatever the big opportunity was, if we miss this thing, we might not get on later.
Mm-hmm.
But every time a moment like that would happen, I would tell him to fall back.
Mm-hmm.
And again, because I'm a woman, it's like, and I'm tiny. I'm very small. Like, I'm like a hot, I won't say my weight, but I'm like 5'4", 5'5", like 5'5". And I'm very tiny. And so every time it would happen, I'd be like, I got this. And he's like, who the fuck are you about to fight? I'm like, I got this. Just stand back. And he was like, no, I got to do it because I'm the guy. And I'm like, all right, fine. And they do it and it wouldn't go well.
Right.
And I'm like, stand back. He's like, okay. So,
yeah.
And I'd be like, run us our fucking money and stop playing.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, let's talk about the metrics that we're going to get you. And also the fact that the quality of the work that we're going to give you is also just going, like, not only are you going to get more traction and we can talk about the views, the likes, but just from a financial standpoint, you will probably see at least a 20% profit increase. So I'm just confused on why you can't give me the little bit of fucking money I asked you for.
Yeah.
But if you can't do it, then we will leave. Okay?
Right.
Because when I was working with PVH, who is the... I was reading people, I swear to God. I'm like, when I was working with PVH, I wasn't working with PVH. I was working with a partner for them. But when I was working with a partner for PVH, who is the fashion house for Calvin Klein and Speedo and and Van Housen, they didn't play in my face like this.
Mm-hmm.
Who, like, you're so tiny.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that you think you're big, but you aren't. And actually, this is embarrassing.
Right.
Because national companies don't treat me like this.
Right.
And you know what? I was like, I want to help the city, but fuck that. I'm going to be like everybody else. Just leave. Is that what you want? They're like, oh my God. Okay, just give her the fucking check.
Right. Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's like, you got to put shit into perspective.
Right.
Like, you think, and I'm not trying to like shit on anybody, but whatever you're doing in Baltimore, nobody gives 2 fucks when you start having international conversations.
Right.
And at the end of the day, I think, thank God I did the blog, right? Thank God the Australian companies started DMing me. Thank God the companies in France started DMing me. So when people were trying to play in my face, I was like, I already did this.
Yeah.
And I can do it again. And I can sit in my fucking living room and do it. I don't even have to leave Baltimore to be international. So I'm trying to help you. Do you want to be on or no? And they're like, okay, yes. All right. You're right. And so Ty was like, I'm starting to see that the energy is changing. And I was like, because there's something about being so secure in who you are that it warrants a certain, I don't know if nobility is the right word, but like, it requires a certain energy exchange. You know what I mean? Either you're going to show up like that too, or you are going to concede to it. But either way, it works for me. I don't care. Like, either you're an equal,
right,
or you can get out of my way.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I say all that to say, like, my fight honestly isn't with people in Baltimore because there isn't anyone here that I feel is like trying to stop our progress. My fight is with the national retailers who think that less than 15% of retail space for Black and brown founders is fucking reasonable. My fight is with the big fashion houses that purposely monopolize all of the resources overseas so that you can't have competition. Like I mention to people all the time, I'm like, why do you think that Kanye and Beyonce had to go through Adidas to produce their line? They're famous and rich as fuck. How does that, think about it? Because the only way they could do mass production was to go through the fucking companies who have the partnerships that are blocking the production of the goods they want produced.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I love Jay-Z being like, with Ace of Spades, he was like, you know what? Y'all didn't think about this one fucking family right here.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm gonna go talk to them niggas.
Mm-hmm.
And they gonna make me my shit. I'm going straight to the source.
Yeah.
We have to do a lot more international work for garment production as a people. And that's one of the things that I really like fell in love with in terms of Derek's rhetoric of how he sees us all being built out internationally. Because he's like, when Mayor Pugh was in office, she had formed a partnership, I believe, with Liberia.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure hopefully most people know, but like Liberia was founded after, you know, the Civil War. Yes,
yeah.
our colonizers, the blacks who
One
wanted
of
to
them.
leave.
Yeah, in Sierra Leone.
And Sierra Leone, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so there are garment districts in Liberia
Mm-hmm.
that have already been liaised with from people here in Baltimore and are really excited to be able to support like a global fashion phenomena. And so we really are in this really special, beautiful moment in history where if we just believed, if we all just had, that's why I say I'm not in competition, or I'm not even trying to, nothing negative about the black folk here in the city. Even if we're not all on the same page yet, I want everybody to have the fuck it. Like, put on their best white man fuck it attitude.
Mm-hmm.
Because if we had that kind of fucking audacity, we're going to start attracting other black creatives here.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to become the black fashion mecca. It's already starting to happen. Like, people are watching my IG and they're like, when can I come do work there? And I'm like, it's not set up yet, you know? But these are people who are already in the major fashion markets, New York, LA, you know, Atlanta. They're like, they want to be in a space where they feel that they're surrounded in community.
Right.
And so, you know, just bringing it all full circle. When I said that my responsibility in all of this is doing it in love, like intentionally loving the people that I'm building the community with. When people start coming from out of state, which is gonna happen, especially in Trump's America, right? Like the other states are getting fucking crazy. It's not safe, right? So even if it's just because a woman is like, I want to have actual autonomy over my body, or whatever, right? As people start coming to the states where maybe liberalism is actually a little bit more real actualized, I think that, damn, I'm losing my train of thought. I was like, in a moment.
But I think what you said though is really important though, because even just a small plug too with Studio B, where we're connected with some craftsmen in Mali, and Mali, I knew about the Liberia, but we're connected to people in Mali, where Mali is kind of becoming the new China in terms of like making shit, like whatever you want made, give it to the craftsmen in Mali, and they got productions. So it's like, you know, we got a lot of this cloth from Mali. A lot of our jewelry was mass produced. Like we got like pieces from Mali. So whether it's Liberia, Mali, it's like we can connect to our folks that look like our folks, and like get mass production and stuff like that. That's real beautiful. But one thing I wanted to ask you though, because I know that you said you talk about this fuck it mentality, and this and one thing I did want to say too, because when you were talking about, you know, Ty would go unsuccessfully, but you coming back. Like one thing you talk about you being small, but it's a lot of our melanated queens that were petite, but they had so much power. And
Thank you.
Lily Mae Curl Jackson was one Baltimore legend that I played at her house multiple times. Her house is now a museum. Her mom used to be like a cleaner of the house, like basically a servant for that house. And she went to the house one time, and the people who owned it was like, "Nah, you can't come in to see your mom," or something like that. And she was like, "What? I'm gonna own this house," and did, and did,
And did.
you feel
I
me?
love it.
And that was it's a museum, so that's one woman, and they like she's a legend. Like they call her the Baltimore Rosa Parks, the real Rosa Parks, because anytime the city would see her coming, they say just give her whatever she wants because she's not gonna leave. You feel me? So it's like you have that matriarchal power innately, and then you have the experience,
Thank you.
right? The corporate experience to back it up on both sides. So you ain't to be fucking played with. But with your own assertion of that energy, how did you get to that point where, like, was it always an innate sense, or was it something that gave you that I don't know, that conviction of that energy? Where did the conviction of that energy come from?
I think it is always there. Like I have a 8-year-old daughter.
Yeah.
You met her,
Yeah.
Zoe.
Mm.
Um, I have two
She got
boys.
some energy too.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I have two boys, but Zoe, I think when you're a parent and you watch your children grow up. Are you a parent? Okay. When you watch your same-sex child specifically grow up, it's like you have to also kind of relive certain parts of your childhood. So it's like, who was I at 7? Who was I at 5, 4, da da da. And the things that I was struggling with, so eerie, like she struggles with sometimes. And I don't want her to carry that into her teens, her adult years. So then I have to work through those things. But as I've worked through a lot of the things that she's gone through in her very short 8 years, it is reminding me that I was already this person. And that the world saw these really beautiful parts of me. And was like, who gave you the fucking audacity?
Right.
And sometimes I believed it, right? I was like, oh, I do not deserve the audacity to be. And so I'm watching my daughter, and I'm like, she'll come home and she's like, Jen said that I give too many hugs. I'm like, fuck Jen.
Right.
And tell her I said it.
Right.
Say fuck Jen tomorrow. I'm like, say fuck. She's like, I will not say fuck, and I will not say fuck Jen. I'm like, you better say fuck Jen. We're going to be in trouble. Because if we got to choose between you and Jen, we're choosing Jen. You understand? And so, yeah, like, my family just made me feel special. Like, there were people in my family. I think every black family, there's trauma, right? There were family members who I had some challenging relationships with, but especially the elders, like the grandparents, the like great aunts and uncles, the people who had just time. They were like, I have lived now. I have fucked some shit up. I have fucked some relationships up. I done fucked a couple kids up too. I want to fix it with the next generation.
Yeah.
They were so attentive and thoughtful and like affirming, and so I just didn't know that I wasn't supposed to have audacity in many ways. And then when my older cousins grew up and had acquired some wealth, the first thing they wanted to do was come back and share it with me. They're like, yo, shit lit out there. Like, I have now traveled the world, and when you were of age, I'm taking you with me, because they're like 17 and 15 years older than me. And I'm like, okay. So my cousin, like my oldest cousin, Jason, was a DJ here locally. He was the one I told you passed away. Didn't want a funeral, wanted a fucking party.
Yeah.
Everybody was like, are you okay? I said, no, he died. First, Lord Jesus. Anyways, I don't want to have a party for my favorite cousin it was supposed to be a funeral. I wanted to cry. I was prepared to cry. There was nowhere to cry. They wanted me to dance to the house music. It was confusing.
Yeah.
And it was great house music because all the local DJs were there. Like,
Yeah.
anyways, but Jason came back, and I think I was in like my junior year of college, and he's like, I'm taking you to like a white tablecloth restaurant in DuPont Circle, because DuPont Circle is one of the best neighborhoods in DC, and I want you to experience like the best of the best, and da da da. And then he was like speaking fucking Spanish to the people. The way I was like, when did you learn Spanish? He was like, oh, when I was living in New York. And I was like, this nigga's cultured.
Right. Right.
Like, we grew up in the same. I'm so confused. Where did you know? And so later on, you know, as he got towards the end of his life, he really started to tell me more about himself.
Mm-hmm.
And he shared with me, he was like, yeah, like when you were little and I went away, I was in jail.
Mm.
I was like, pardon? How?
Mm-hmm.
Because the misconception, the misnomer is you go to jail and then you die. Like, you went to jail, now you're dead.
Right.
You went to jail, you don't exist anymore.
Right.
And if you do come back, you're going to be a burden to your family.
Right.
Right? My family didn't treat him like that.
Mm-hmm.
He came back from jail. I think he went to jail for drug trafficking.
Mm-hmm.
So he had a felony charge.
Mm-hmm.
Came back, and right away, they were like, get your GED. Because I think he went in, like, he had to have gone in as, like, basically a teen or early 20s. So I don't want to misspeak because he might have already graduated from high school. But I know that he winded up like becoming a substitute teacher. And so it was like the years that he went missing, he was just missing. Whatever story, he was in Japan. Tell yourself a story. Fine, right? So he comes back, and then my aunt is like, Jason's a substitute teacher, and he has all these like really cute like upper middle class like pictures with like his little suit and tie and all the other teachers. And then he's like, I don't want to be a teacher anymore, guys. I'm gonna start traveling the world to do music. And then he did, and I was like, oh, he's always been successful and great and had his shit together. And he was like, no, I can't even vote. And I was like, and so it really just speaks to the character of my family. Like, they don't give a fuck what else says. Right. Because I know you. I know your heart. I know you're a good person. I know that you are the kind of person who's going to show up for a community, and whatever anybody else says doesn't matter. And that's what they taught me. And so when I got to college, there was this moment, again, I was like, I got to drop out. I'm poor. I don't have any money, because my parents weren't in a place to like help me. And my cousin, I didn't understand black people money. I was like, if it doesn't look like the Huxtables or white people money, it's not money, right? I didn't know that like his wife was like the child of a multimillionaire. I didn't know I didn't know any of these things. I knew she had a nice house. I was like, oh, this house is cute. Right. And he was like, you should get Miss Shirley to adopt you. And I was like, no, that's weird. That was his wife's mom. I was like, no. He was like, she does it all the time. She likes helping girls. Like, she'll take you in. You won't even have to worry about your tuition. He was like, fuck it. Come live down here with me. I was like, no, I'm not doing that either. I don't know why I thought I had to struggle. I thought that's what blackness was. I was like, struggle is black. Black is struggle. Anyways, so eventually I got to my junior year and struggle really hit me. And I was like, can I come stay with you now? And he was like, no, because I took your brothers in. I was like, fuck. And then Miss Shirley got sick, and I was like, fuck. Damn. So I had tapped out my assistants, but what I did learn was resilience. He was like, all right, we'll go stay with my mother. And I did. I went to stay with his mom, and it was the first time that I really experienced like everything being taken care of for me. Like, I had a car and she was paying my car note. I would fight her because my parents weren't like that. They weren't like, we will take care of every single thing for you. I thought we were broke. So his mom was not like that. Like, if I walked out the door, she was putting money in my hand. I was like, no, And I would like put it back on the table. She's like, take the money.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
like, are you gonna fight me? Yes.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay. My grandfather was like that too. Like, he would always give me money every time he saw me. And I just thought that they were like super generous people, but they were. But it also is this thing of like the universe gives it back to you.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have to actually let that shit flow through you. Like, when you hold on to things, anything you hold on to, you're gonna lose.
Yeah.
So the bringing it all the way, I know I'd be so going on a rant, but it's because I feel
that's a deep. You fucking dropping gems.
I feel really passionate about it. But like, the reason why I continuously make six figures is because like I'm able to generate that even though I'm not supposed to. Like, someone that looks like me, who lives in Baltimore, who works in the fucking arts, supposed to be poor. The reason why I beat these odds is because I understand that the way that divine energy works is if you receive something from God and you give it back, that's the people that he wants to keep giving shit to, because he wants to bless all of us. The better you are at distributing, the better he can be at pouring. You understand?
Yeah.
So my job is to be a great distributor.
Right.
Like, I need to figure out how I can spread love, good energy, money, all the... In Christianity, I'm Christian, right? Like, we call it the fruits of the spirit, right? It is not money and love. It is all... But anyways, that's not the point.
Right.
The point is, I've just seen that, like, my life is always much more full, much more beautiful, much less stressful when I am not fucking selfish.
Right.
And so when I see people embodying that spirit of like scarcity that is usually fueled by fear, when I come and I say stop it, I'm saying stop it because I want to pull them out of it, not because I'm saying fuck you. I'm like, I know you're scared, but being scared isn't gonna get you to the end that you want to get to.
Right.
So if you can, like, for a minute, just turn that off, like one quick pause. It only takes a quick moment to be able to change a lifetime of thoughts. And if I can, like, startle that person into hearing what I'm saying for 30 fucking minutes, it could change their life. And so that's what I hope to do. I hope to go into these rooms, share why artists should get paid, actually end slave labor, have us rethink about, as Black people, do we want to be masters? Like,
right.
Do I want to be the new plantation owner? I don't. I can't say fuck white people, fuck the legacy of slavery, but then I turn around and do the same exact shit. That's weird.
No,
it's weird.
People who do that.
Like, let's not call it racism then. Let's call it something else. Yeah. Classism? Well, now I'm saying too much. But anyways.
No, it's not too much, because I know a lot of people that was on that shit. There's the same person that was working at Baltimore City Hall was on that same shit. Yeah, man. A lot of what you said, you brought up so many different things and some other things that I want to hit on too, man. It's just because even when you talked about the funeral aspect, you know, and the comedic spiritual science aspect, we supposed to be transitioning the souls of the people that transition. That's another conversation.
You better go ahead.
You know, because that's where we come from, our indigenous ways of life. Even with the Adinkra symbols, I don't have one up here, but the Adinkra symbols were made to as a language to represent certain things that they put on the caskets and put on the things that they send the transition souls off with to help transition their souls. So if they struggle with something, they would send them off with a certain Adinkra symbols or certain ones. And then even if you read the Book of the Dead, there's certain things that you will read to help transition the soul into the afterlife so they don't have whatever. But that's another conversation.
Hold on. So you saying my family did it right?
Yes. Your family did it right.
Okay, because I was like, this don't feel like the right thing. It's not what I'm used to.
Yeah, your family did it right. And I mean, it's okay, too, to cry because we have to purge the subtle body. Because if we don't let the energy out, you feel me, but we be crying and partying at the same time. But a lot of times, too, we don't grow up with the knowledge that, you know, souls are supposed to transition. And when the ancestors get on the other side, they can do more for us and more for themselves
Oh
than
my
they could
goodness.
on the other side. So if we're raised with those types of knowledges and stuff like that, it's better. You know, my mom passed away when I was 11, so I kind of was desensitized to death in a certain type of way. But at the same time, I feel like that was a divine thing because I kind of consider myself a death doula in a way when it comes to my psychic mediumship. But that's a whole nother conversation that you made me think of. And then you made me think about I'm my mom's only child, but my dad had three before me, and both my brothers was locked up. So when you brought up, you know, your cousin, I was like, oh wow, like that's kind of how I felt when my brothers was locked up, like because I didn't even really have a relationship with them when I was younger, because I kind of grew up like an only child. So it's like when they was gone, they was just gone. But now me and my oldest brother, we tight. You know, he's out. My other brother, he's out too. You know, doing his thing. But bringing it back full circle, some of the things that you were talking about that you just mentioned, man, is some of the things that me and brother Phil was literally just talking about when we just saw each other last week, man, talking about the infrastructure, some of the things of, you know, letting things flow through us, being connectors, you know, a lot of the philosophies you were talking about. So I want to pose the same question that you posed to me to him, and then I want you to also from there share some of the things that you got going on and some of your philosophies in that conversation that we were talking about. So why and before you do that, because another aspect that I thought about too when we talked about, you know, artists and musicians being slaves really now, it's like I think that it's important that when we, you know, work with children and work with the next generation that's coming up, I think education is very important too, because a lot of
Listen.
like our arts and stuff, like it's not a tangible good, right? It's like they'll charge you $4,000 for this keyboard, but they won't pay the person playing it $4,000. You feel me? I gotta play if I'm going off of these regular rates in the city, I gotta do 100 gigs to be able to afford this keyboard one time. Like I gotta play 100 times before this pay for itself, right? If I'm going by, you feel me,
So,
at a certain pay rate.
in
But
the,
when we go ahead,
I was gonna say in the social science. So my degree is in sociology.
uh-huh.
There's this theory in sociology called alienation. So it comes from Karl Marx, and he talks about exactly what you're saying. The problem with capitalism is that it values the product over the human being. And
Right.
so it is the system of capitalism is more efficient
Right.
when the person is paid the least
Mm-hmm.
and the product is worth the most.
Right.
So that's how you wind up getting a China and a Temu. Like they got super
Mm-hmm.
efficient, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the issue with that is the human cost.
Mm-hmm.
From a soul level, like I think I'm convinced Karl Marx was black, but whatever.
Mm-hmm.
He was German. But when he talks about the theory of alienation, he talks about the disconnection from the person and their soul.
Mm-hmm.
When you ask somebody to make a fucking keyboard, and then especially if it's a situation where they might just only be making the white keys and they can't see how the whole thing comes together,
Mm-hmm.
you're asking them to separate a part of their creative being from their bodies.
Right.
Like, and so it forces us to kind of numb out.
Mm-hmm.
And then that numbing out then becomes honestly an important part of why we even are allowing for this society to exist.
Right.
Because we're already like, well, I mean, we all feel uncomfortable anyway.
Mm-hmm.
We need more money so we can feel less uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And then it just perpetuates itself. It's like,
mm-hmm.
and so artists, it's like artists get, I'm going to be quiet so you can say this with, it's like you get penalized for being the one person in society who says, again, fuck that. Like, fuck that shit. I'm not doing that. I will be a whole human being.
Right.
I will be the beginning and the end. Maybe that's what God meant by I am the Alpha and Omega. But anyways, I will be the beginning and the end of the creation of the thing that I am making so I can be whole.
Right. Mm-hmm.
I also think that's what the I am means.
Right. Right.
Like I am what I am being. I am not to be diluted. You gotta take me at full concentration or don't take me at all.
Right.
You know?
Mm-hmm. And it's like, yeah, just to finish off what I was talking about, man, it's just that educational aspect to let them know that, you know, like, this is why this matters. And I always say that the arts are the foundation of everything that exists. You feel me? Even when it comes to education and stuff like that, the alphabet is artistic characters. You feel me? Speaking, even the art of making. Somebody had to design this. Design is art. You know, glass shelves. You know, everything that exists, it takes an artistic process to create. Even if it's more like, you know, even so, I would always talk to my store partner while he be talking about artists. I'm like, you an artist too. You feel me? You build stuff, but it's more of a, you know, more of a hard form of art, but you build. Like, you know, he made that table that's downstairs, you know. But when it comes to this brick, you know, somebody had to artistically put this brick together the way, you feel me? And then when we go back to the old days of, you know, spiritual science and certain things and the real Masonic shit that these fake Masons today have taken. That's a whole nother conversation. But science and spirituality went hand in hand. So even the arts and crafts and sustainability is supposed to go hand in hand. So all of these things are supposed to work together. But like you said, everything is separated now. They separate the artist from the art, separate, you know, the person from the soul. But why do you think, you know, what's your take on it? And then what are some of the things that you're doing, some of your philosophies and how you moving with it?
That is a very good question, my brother. I don't think I have a full answer for it. My take on art, I guess for me, I would say I have to start here. God gives everyone gifts that they can develop and talents that they can develop. And you essentially make the choice how far or where you want to go with it. And that's an individual choice, and those choices can also be created. Those choices can be influenced by environment, people you talk to, mentors, whatever the case may be. But ultimately, at the end of the day, you still have to make the choice on how far you want to push your talent and gift, or how little you want to expose your talent or gift. And I wouldn't. I guess I could say that's some of my philosophy. As far as like what I'm doing, what I was privileged to get into, I call it a blessing, was something that just was kind of like burdening me. I would go to jam sessions, I would go around the city and see different things, and I'm just like, man, and more so specifically speaking to our people, I'm like, okay, if we're saying that, you know, we've created straight ahead, we've created the blues, we've created R&B, we've created this, then why are we doing it in such a way where some of it is a little dogmatic, and then some of it is a little cliquish, and then some of it is kind of classism? It's like, this is supposed to be for us, to grow us, to push us, to make us think. So I just began to see some things, and I was like, all right. And I just went to sleep. I woke up in the middle of the night, was like, hey, if you don't do it, you can't complain about it later. So, you know, made some phone calls, made some moves, did some research. And fortunately, I run a jam session every Thursday night from 7 to 9 at Terra Cafe, 105 East 25th Street.
Very cool.
That's rooted, you know, in the tradition of straight ahead. You know, we do venture off a little bit, but I try to keep it in straight ahead, just for the factor of, like, you know, those are our roots.
What is straight ahead?
So
you keep saying it, and I was like, I don't know what that is. And I was about to raise my hand.
No, it's okay. So I say straight ahead the mass media labeled it jazz.
Oh.
And if you listen to interviews of like the old masters like Miles and Dizzy and Max Roach and them, they never really used the term jazz.
So what did they call
They
it?
just called it the music of the people.
Oh.
Because they were making music for their people. So for me, I've once again, like you talked about working in the corporate side, I learned how to keep my feet in both lanes. So it's like when I hear jazz, I hear what a person is trying to say. But what I say is straight ahead.
And I will say that straight ahead in some of our things is, at this point, it's more like a subgenre of jazz.
Right.
Because, you know, at this point, we got jazz fusion, avant-garde jazz, you know, all these different forms of jazz. But straight ahead is more like a subgenre. I'll leave it at a subgenre.
You know, and for me, it the reason why I look at it that way is because the term jazz now is used so loosely. So like if you notice, it's 2025. If you've noticed in the last 10 years, we have Jazz Fest. But if you look at the lineup of the Jazz Fest,
R&B singers,
it's R&B,
soul
singers, and even now it's trickled in some hip hop. Because like there was a festival maybe 2 years ago in Richmond, I think, and I saw, and it was like, they was like, yeah, our Richmond Jazz Fest. And they had Jill Scott, Bone Thugs and Harmony. And like, I'm just reading it down. I'm just like, I don't
Bone
see.
Thugs and Harmony.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't see a straight ahead.
I've never
Or they be
heard.
like
I mean,
they be jazzy.
I like, I've never seen them
I mean, they
jazz.
coming in like, it's the first of the month. Wake up, wake up. I'm like, bro, like I used to go to church
Oh my god.
on 105th. Like I know where y'all are from on
That's
East
hilarious.
99. But it's like, I'm just reading. And then like, when you get to the smaller print,
You're from California?
I'm from Cleveland.
Okay.
Yeah, so Bone Thugs, they're from, that's a whole,
Oh, I thought they were from
that's a
California.
whole, yeah, that's a
Are they?
whole story.
Isn't that what
They
they
are- they are-
marketed?
No, so they're from, can I do the short version?
All right, I'm
Where's
sorry.
the short?
Yeah,
No,
I'm asking-
do it.
No, I'm gonna do
I'm
the
like,
short
I'm
version.
asking more
No,
questions.
no. I'm gonna do the short version. So like Bone Thugs and Harmony is from East 99,
Okay.
Eternal. And East 99, yeah, East 99 is St. Clair, essentially. So when they were getting popular, they ran into some trouble. And Eazy-E was like, you need to come to LA today.
Ah.
So like, and mind you, like their record was building and so was their trouble. So they jumped on a flight and went straight to Cali and just stayed in Cali.
I
So
hear
they
it.
came back to Cleveland, but they stayed in Cali till some things.
I was gonna say, I hear that the 80s and 90s was a very hard time to be coming of age.
I mean, in the Midwest, yeah, because it's like, so I'm a visual person. So you have Detroit, Chicago, Cleveland, Pittsburgh. And if you know anything about like the Midwest, that little kind of U-ish, L-ish, U-ish, that's all like factory work, like steel mill town. So as that stuff began to close up, just like in California, like in Watts, it became very difficult for a man to essentially provide for his family. So it's like, yeah, he's going to a factory making great money.
Baltimore was a factory
Yeah,
town.
I was gonna
Baltimore's factory
say,
town too.
Like,
So
I learned recently that the population decreased by like half in the city. That's why so many buildings are abandoned. Like the population just ain't even here. And it's the factory work. Like my family's story feels so fucking special to me. But it's not terribly unique, right? Like there is no reason. Okay, it's okay for.
I mean,
Go ahead.
I'm at your mercy.
No,
Right now.
You funny as shit.
So, University of Maryland, we doing the panel, right? And this white professor stands up and he's like, I love us because when we are like, what the fuck? We could be like, what the fuck? What? So, he does this whole 10-minute presentation on redlining, everything we kind of already know about, like why we got here, right? But explaining black people's troubles and why we're broke and why there's crime but here are the promises of the future. First question was, why did you just do that presentation? He was like, oh, I thought because I was like very inspired by you guys and thought that I would like share some research that I had found as a professor. I loved all the graphs and the pictures, and I felt like he came with a lot of receipts, and I enjoyed that part, right? I was like, Ty, can you take pictures of these receipts? I need these. But then I asked him a question because I also was like, and I was like, I don't know if you guys knew this, but during slavery, Baltimore at one period had the highest concentration of free black people.
Yes, I talk about that a lot.
And so I said, why is it that we had the highest concentration of free black people? We work it back now. Like, So let me say it differently. In order for you to be a free black person, you essentially had to be an entrepreneur. Because otherwise you would have been a slave, right? So how could we have the highest concentration of black entrepreneurs, but now the median income for a black family, I think it dropped. It was like 33,000. I think his slide said like 22. I said, what is everybody like on social services? Like,
right.
It's crazy. Anyways, and that's not shade to black people. It's like the opportunities to make money keep dwindling. And so I asked the question. I was like, well, my grandparents migrated from the South during the Great Migration. They bought a house. And yet I'm still having the same fucking struggles. So that's buying. His answer to my question was, well, home ownership is very difficult in the black community, and I think that is primarily the issue. And I said, wrong. You're wrong. You're wrong because my family did that. And they even went on to become entrepreneurs. And we're still dealing with the same fucking problems. Why? He said, I don't know. I said, you don't. I said, I'm sorry, but the problem of home ownership actually technically isn't a problem because we're really good at owning homes, but they kept getting stolen. I said, Ta-Nehisi Coates made a really great argument in the Atlantic article for the case of reparations. You read that, right? I'm terrible. Anyways, so I was like, you read that, right? In that article, he made a really great case that even during slavery times, black entrepreneurs were buying fucking houses and white people were stealing them. So why are we broke? I digress. Anyways, I think that the closing of anytime, like, I'll say this and then I'll kick it back to you, but like every single time we find a way to build up black entrepreneurship, there's then immediately a systematic way to dismantle that thing.
Yes.
And so I would have to go back and do the history. I don't actually know the history of this part, but I have to assume it probably is something like these manufacturing plants that housed black workers, the Bethlehem Steels of the America, right? I.e. my grandparents or my grandfather, then births an artist who then births an artist who can now be free. My cousins, me, right? And so if I'm a white person, I'm like, oh, they getting free. We still need the manufacturing. They just can't do it. And so they start shutting the shit down. They're like, let's go back to the slave labor because the slave labor ain't slaving anymore, you know? And that's honestly like what's going on with the DEI conversation now. Like the same type of boom started to happen in tech where, and I worked in tech, like you start realizing how to be free. And you're like, why am I doing this for you? I'm going to do it for me. And the first people I knew something was going on. Right, I'm really gonna be quiet. But I knew something was going on at the end of last year because everybody that I knew that worked for a Fortune 500 company that was black in middle management got fired at the same time, and they did not work for the same company. They were not in the same state. I was like, this shit's weird. And one of my friends called me. She was like, you don't ever apply for a job, do you? I was like, how can you tell? She said, you're not stressed. I said, I'm confused by this statement. She said, everyone I know who's applying for a job or ever applied for one is so fucking stressed right now. Yeah. Because they're not sure if they'll ever get one again because the job market is shit for black people. I was like, what's going on in the streets? And so I started talking to other people. And that's when I started putting the dots together. I was like, something's going on with middle management. And then Trump gets elected. And then the companies make a public statement. And they're like, we're cutting DEI initiatives. What that actually meant was all niggas employed by us are getting fired. And we will not get in trouble. And we can recoup that money. The fuck? I was just like, that's crazy. And it's like all of this because, again, we're living in this moment in time that hasn't really hit us yet. Just like our forefathers, you know, the ancestors, where they were promised 40 acres and a mule. They never got it. And they said, fuck you, I'm going to still get my land anyway. We got promised, I think, $50 billion after George Floyd was killed. Was supposed to go to black-owned businesses. And black businesses started suing the companies that said they were going to do it because they weren't giving any money out. I think less than 2% of the 50 billion got distributed. And when they started winning, that was when this started happening. Like, I remember sitting in, because most of the money was supposed to go to marketing. Like, I remember sitting in discussions where, you know, white representatives from Fortune 500 companies were there. And people were like, yo, when are you going to give the money? And they're like, yeah, we're still working on it. We're working on it. Apparently, they were working on something else. And we'll never get the money. And it's like it never even happened. And it was when they made the promise, not when George Floyd got killed, but 5 years ago, right, is when that happened. 5 years, and we get to erase a moment in history. That's insane. Okay, I'm done. You go ahead.
That was a great commercial break.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you said a part of what you said too, because like, you know, just real quick, the excuse for getting us the fuck up out of there is that, because you know, if you do the research, you know, the number one beneficiaries of DEI was white women. You know, white women be getting most of the minority shit because they are a minority. They be getting it, but like they'll call it this. But and we're like a lot of our people be arguing with each other about some of these semantics and shit. But what you said cut straight to the chase. They calling it this, but they doing that. What the fuck are we gonna do about it? And we active. Niggas is active. But
yeah. So just stepping back to my point. Gracefully.
Yeah, Ohio.
I'm so sorry.
Nah, just you know, with what I'm trying to do, like you said, and I appreciate the statement of trying to, how do I want to say, evolve or morph the poverty mindset of an artist across the board. Like whatever art you do, you know, you should be paid for your work. Because even you know, I went to school, have a degree in music, but even looking at like music history and scaling that back against African history, is art shaped the way countries moved. Art shaped the way people went.
What does that mean?
As far as how art shaped things, I mean, you know, we're still arguing about Shakespeare. Did he write this or did he not write that? That's shaping culture, because you have a man that's been dead roughly 250 years, and we're still, well, we don't know if he wrote this. Well, I mean, if you look at the penmanship over here, this is more gloss to this. It's like we're still talking about that. You know what I mean? Just Basquiat. You know what I mean? Hearing about him, but then hearing a Mono Neon song mention his name, and I'm like, okay, let me look back into Basquiat. Getting to know who Basquiat is again. You know, hearing certain quotes by William Baldwin, like researching that stuff again, like just going back to different things. And it's like, okay, yeah, like these things help to shape culture, because when you have the mathematician, when you have the scientist, when they need that break from toiling with their theory, they turn to a art-like outlet to help soothe their mind, to go back into and say, that's why it didn't work, because I didn't see this part because I was so hung up on this. And I
Well, even I was just gonna say, even when it goes back to original shit, the scientists and the mathematicians were the artists.
I was
when
about
we talk
to say
about
the same thing.
hieroglyphics, hieroglyphics was beautiful art all over the walls. You feel me? The obelisks and the temples and all of those were art, architecture, art.
Right.
So it's like it's literally the fabric of the universe that we're in. So if we, and even when it comes to musicians, right? And I talk about how when we get into spiritual science, everything that exists is vibration and frequency. All this shit is atoms vibrating at a certain frequency. So if we were vibrating at certain frequencies, we could literally walk through walls. So if we know that everything that exists is literally just a vibration, and sound is vibration and frequency, musicians and people that create sound, we're literally creating new frequencies that the universe is made out of. Like, that's a profound power. So even when we talk about rappers that's rapping about killing, fucking, fuck, hoe, bitch, all this bullshit, you feel me? They're speaking life.
Into
Whether
those
it's
things. Yeah.
whether it's fucking negative, whatever, but it's like it's fabric. They're speaking new fabric of the universe into the universe. So it's so powerful. Whether it's what we sitting on, what we looking at, but even to your aspect, people who might not even consider themselves artists, they'll still go to the art to get away from their mundane. You feel me? Now that we live corporate, whatever, these motherfuckers is sitting here on at a desk job, but they going home watching TV. That's fucking art. You feel me? They listening to the radio, art. You feel me? All these things, but then the whole infrastructure of all of those things that they watching is still corporate jobs going with that. But it's art. Like, everything is based around art. Everything. But
no, I mean, like, even I mean, you said it very eloquently, and I think that's why I just, and we talked about this a couple weeks ago. Like, that's why I just had the push that I have. Like, for me, it's not about competition. It's not about ego. Like, I have this thing that I just stick with, and I tell people, I'm like, man, I said, God can't get anything to you, like you said before, if your hands are always closed.
mm-hmm.
I said, so I've learned to keep my hands open. So if I get it, I keep it for however long I'm supposed to keep it. I let it go, because I just got to be prepared for the next thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, and for me, like, that's how I look at the jam session. It's like I started it, we're making it work. I'm trying to keep it as community as possible, integrating different elements, navigating new terrain, how to talk to people, how to look at certain people, how to be kind. But for me, the biggest thing, and it has been a almost routine saying, because we've been in an establishment now for like a month and a week. But every week I've heard people say the same thing, and they're like, man, your session is so welcoming.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, and I asked one person, I said, what do you mean by welcoming? They're like, when I walk here, I don't hear or feel ego. I just hear music.
Mm-hmm. That's different.
And then when I meet you, I don't see ego. I just see a person welcoming me into the fold to play or to listen.
I love that so much.
And I'm like, okay, cool. And in my head, I'm thinking, I'm like, well, that's the idea anyway. So I'm glad that I laid a good foundational footprint for the idea to be pushed.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm like, at the end of the day, and like, like you both been saying, Baltimore is a crap city. And I think people know where I'm going to go with this, but I'll spin it this way. Why am I going to waste time arguing with my brother and my sister, and we both still got to eat?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that was my point about being like, give us the fucking money. Because the people who were like not trying to come off the money, let's say that they work for an institution, it's like, but you need to get paid more too. So I'm not just advocating for me, I'm also advocating for you. I digress.
No, that's real, and that's the thing I be saying too. Cause it's like if you give us what we need to make you look good, you will get more.
Yeah, you're gonna get more.
You
I mean,
feel me?
it's the law of reciprocity. Like,
Right.
okay, you give me this, it looked good. Then you email me 2 days later, hey man, people were just talking about your show, or people were talking about your thing, and blah 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 blah. And like, when can we do it again? Okay, we can do it again. You know, do we need to revisit better parameters to do it again?
Right.
Or, you know, it's different things like that. It's like, okay, yeah, we need to do that. Fine, cool, blah, 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 blah. And then you look better, which means you get more resource, you get more connection, you get different people. I look better, which means I get a bigger cut of what you got. And we just continue to build and build
Right.
and build until we're able to branch off and say, okay, I think now it's time for us to move. You move to the left, I move to the right. Or before I move, help me understand what you do on your side so I can begin to do it a little bit. And then I can show you what I do on my side so you can do it. So now we can both branch off and not just be one tree, but now be two trees with deep roots and just branch off to different things and different people. Like I have a person I'm talking to now. He gave me 2 dates at a spot he promotes.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, hey man, we gotta talk because I want to switch some things up.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay, cool. And he's like, nah, man, I gotta pitch you. And I'm like, if you don't know, like, I trust you by now,
Mm-hmm.
what are we talking about?
Right.
Because everything I brought to you has been successful, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'll let you pitch me. Yeah, we'll go get something. I'll put something on the grill. We can talk. But I have an idea. If you're trying to pitch me, you've already thought A through Z about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to have some level of trust that you've thought A through Z about it. So yeah, so those are some of my inner
And
thoughts.
it's that part that, not to cut you off real quick,
Yeah,
but
go
nah,
ahead.
that part that you just said when you said the crab city and the crab shit, the part that you just said, because niggas in this city and niggas around, period, in general, will be fine with supporting you up until the point where they start to feel threatened by your presence.
Let me step in that for a second. Brief second.
Uh-huh.
That was okay. How do I want to say this? That was another proponent to why I started this session.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I told somebody, I said, man, I'm doing this because I want people to see you at your root level so that when you get to your blooming level in the tree, they can say, I saw you here.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And I said, at me being 39, I said, it's now my turn to give back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I said, because, you know, I can only do but so much. Hopefully I get to that level. Prayerfully I will. I said, but in me getting to that level, I got to open my hands up to the guys behind me.
Right.
Yeah.
And say, yo, okay, I have a few connections. I know how to talk to people. I know how to do this. Let me build this platform for y'all so y'all can get around me so I can show you how to talk business. I can show you how to negotiate. I can show you how to do this. I can show you how to do that. Ooh, man, okay. I got a little stirred. I can show you how to have a
You feeling the
budget
energy?
so that when you get paid certain things, you have the budget to pay your people.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can handle the business on the back end.
Right.
We on the same wavelength.
Because
It's
that's
just passion for
that's
me.
another thing
Yeah.
that makes my fingers itch.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, yo, and I'm gonna just be very bare bones. If we're doing $100 gigs, and you have a quartet, and it's $400, a rule of business, you should have that $400 in the bank to pay your employees.
Mm-hmm.
And then as the top guy, you eat the costs.
Mm-hmm.
You should have that. But we're constantly in a rob Peter, pay Paul, find Judas, get him off the tree, bury the body. Now I just bumped into Thomas and figure out how to convince Thomas to play on my team because he don't believe. We're doing all of this and it's like, nah, just
What you're saying
map it on planet.
It's so important because a lot of times in business, especially, I think in business in general, but I will say specifically for Black Baltimore business, right? People think people are shady
Mm-hmm.
or fucked up,
Mm-hmm.
but they're just like really bad at business. And so I've had to come to a place where I separate the bad business practices from the human. Like, the person could be amazing, solid ass human being, but you got to learn the basics so that because if you don't, you will burn everybody, including yourself. To your point about just learning the basics, like, I started thinking about J. Cole's Middle Child song as you were talking, because we are, right? Like, we haven't fully actualized, but we're not the young kids, right? And so when I work with young people, like you, I try to teach them. I'm not going to repeat similar things, right? And when I first started with interns with the blog, it was mainly white girls. Well, it wasn't just white girls. It was like not black girls. It was everybody but black girls. It was like Asian girls and white girls and Hispanic girls. And every time I would try to get a black girl on the team, looking back on it now, it was two problems. She wouldn't work for free. And what I kept saying was work for the college credit. Everybody has to do like an internship where I forgot what the technical term is for it, but like instead of doing a class, you do an internship and then it counts for the credit, right? I was like
it's like an independent study.
Like an independent study, right? So I was like, use this for that because this won't be a regular internship. I'm going to teach you the whole business.
Right.
And they just wouldn't get it. Yeah. And I was like, fine. The white girls were like, can I start today? I'm like, I didn't sign the papers yet. They're like, I'm about to send it now.
Right.
All right, I'll send it tomorrow. Can I start? And I'm like, okay. And so they started a culture amongst themselves where in order to become an intern, there was a certain level of excellence that you had to meet. And the girls were like, she's not it. She should be excited to be here and like she's not, and also the work was shitty. And I'm like, y'all are taking this very seriously, and it wasn't that long ago. Like I said, I started in 2018. All of the girls have graduated now. 2 of them become lawyers. I think I may have had like, I don't know, like a good 12 interns, right? 2 have become lawyers. Like 5 of them work in the industry, leading influencer departments. They're phenomenal fucking women. One of them is a writer. I'm like, either I'm super smart and I pick only geniuses, or the environment in which they were working in together was a real working environment where then they saw how they should show up at work. And then allowed them to be ahead of their counterparts.
But you just hit it on the head. They saw.
They did.
Their vision.
They saw. So, like, with my session, one thing I started doing in the mornings, like, I typically wake up, hit my alarm clock, and I'll just lay there for like another 5 minutes and just breathe. And I'll say, okay, gotta go to work. One of these kids is gonna come down here. They're gonna have a little attitude. You can manage that. You gotta get out. Don't forget to take your juice, because that's some pretty good stuff in that refrigerator for your insides. But the key thing I always say every day is know what you can handle and know what God is handling. Know what you can handle, but know what God is handling. So if it's not for you to handle, leave it on his shoulders. If it's for you to handle, pick it up and handle it like a champ. But because I think like that, it's funny, like when I walk in certain spaces, I see certain things. So like every time I do my jam session, I see it full. Even though it's like it looks empty, I see it full. But I don't see it full from that night. Like I just see it full. So I'm like, and people just like, man, I'm like, yeah, I'm not really stressing about the money that's coming. And they're like, all right, like you have such a good disposition. I'm like, but that's because of what I see.
Right.
Like you have to see it. Like even some of the stuff I'm doing now, like some of the musicians are like, yo, this is kind of crazy how you're doing this. And I'm like, they're like, how? I'm like, well, no disrespect, but I had to eliminate excuse. I've been to very few jam sessions that have been almost practically fully backlined.
Yep.
Where you walk in, it's like, oh, you have a bass amp there? Oh, you have a keyboard amp there? Oh, you got a drum set there? You have a sound system? Like, yeah. So now that excuse is gone. Oh, I'm getting paid this and this? Yeah. That excuse is gone. So now it's like, okay, now that we're done having the woe is me conversations after every session, Can we play the music?
Yeah.
Hold on, but what you said is important because it goes back to the when you end the woe is me conversation. Now can we get started? Right? Goes back to when you were talking about the robbing Peter to pay Paul. Da da da. I started as you were saying it. I was thinking about a lot of times we get into that mode of business because we're spending other people's money from the scarcity mindset or the scarcity beliefs about money we hold, right? So like I have a client right now. He's paying so we do marketing work to eat food. But it's very much like of this ilk, right? So I'm like, you're a black CEO. Everybody needs to know you. We're going to like tell your story. It's going to be fucking art. And they're like, I love art. So one of my clients paying thousands of dollars, and he comes to me. He's already paying thousands of dollars every month to have us on retainer. Comes to me, he's like, how much would you charge us to do another project? I say $2,500 a month. He said, great. Get started today. I said, okay. He was like, send me the invoice, run it. I said, he said, just send me the invoice, Taija. I was like, he said, Taija? I said, huh? Because in my mind, I'm counting the thousands I'm about to, I had already invoiced him that month. You know what I'm saying? He had already paid. I was like, oh, that's a lot of thousands. Do you want to start next month? He's like, send it. And so I send it. And I called Ty, and I was like, Ty, he told me to do it. I'm calling you as a witness. I'm about to hit send, and I'm going to throw the phone and the laptop because I'm scared. I'm like, he's going to change his mind. He's going to be like, give me my money back, right?
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I hit send. I was like, okay. And the next day he was like, I'm so happy with it. And I was like, and so same client, just Thursday is like, I want you to do this work. Da da da. And I was like, I was very quiet. Now he want me to send 3 invoices.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm going to pass out. So he says, he was like, you're the head of the marketing division for my company.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm sorry. No, it's your company. I'm just doing, humble little me is just doing work.
Right.
And he was like, no, you head the division for marketing for my company. I said, okay, well, now that we're talking about that, take the excuse away, right? Like, it gave me space to pitch him this idea that, who am I to have the fucking audacity, right? But I had the idea, and I'm like, well, I know that you do government contracts, and there are government contracts for digital marketing work and your space, and you usually need multiple people on the contract. And one of my old mentors sent me one, and it was for $10 million, and it would be $2 million awarded every year to help kids with the mental health disparities that social media is causing. They wanted you to do research, but they also wanted you to create a tech solution. I could look for grants like that. We could do the tech part. You deal with the kids. That's what you do. He said, and then my millions can become your millions.
Yep.
I was like, yeah. Now I said it, right? But now I have to, and I know he will do it. And I know he has the means. He's already a multi-millionaire, right? All I have to do is not fucking think all the fucked up thoughts I think about why I'm not good enough, right? And so also part of like showing up as the fucking mentality is like reminding yourself, like, yeah, you are mentoring, but you're also going through this cycle constantly of like being refined. And I think, at least for me, it's a very spiritual experience. Like, I'm starting to become really sensitive to the moments when I'm in my own bullshit. When I'm in my own bullshit, I'm like, one of two things happens. Either I feel too comfortable. I'm like, this feels so good here. Too comfortable for too long. Or I feel like everything is like starting to go left.
Mm-hmm.
Can I throw a term at you?
Sure, go
that I
ahead.
just came up with.
Oh, you just came up. Okay, go ahead.
So, being a disciple of discipline.
Okay.
Being a disciple of discipline.
What does that mean to you?
So what that means to me is that, and I'll just use I don't have to use musical, but just if you have a goal, there are going to be points where you will lose focus.
Mm-hmm.
The question is, who, what, or where can push you back into being the discipline in your discipleship? So it's like, for example, a lot of great stars, a lot of great musicians, when they get I'll use athletes. That's even better.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of great athletes, when they have certain entourages, what do the entourage do? They just pump the head up,
Mm-hmm.
which causes them at times to be a disciple, but they hinder from their discipline, or they veer off from their discipline.
Mm-hmm.
So where it's like, well, man, I was in, when I was in college, I was in the gym all the time, blah, blah, blah. And then when I got into the league, I was in the gym all the time, blah, blah, blah. But then when you start to party, when you start to get certain people around you, that portion of your discipleship of discipline begins to dwindle, because now people are planting to see the facade of you've arrived,
Mm-hmm.
you've made it, you've done this, and they don't essentially know what it takes for you to run at that high octane level. You do.
I just felt something when you said that.
So it's like I'm learning even in what I do. It's like, like consistency is key. Like I had a funny conversation with somebody. So for Lent, I gave up.
Are you Catholic?
No.
Okay.
But for Lent, I gave up what I call leisure social media.
Mm-hmm.
So I was only using social media just to promote my session, just to promote gigs. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
And then even like instant messenger, that was only just for conversations. Didn't really jump into IG, but just to promote.
Mm-hmm.
And I found it interesting because I had a person, he was like, man, you got your thing. You need to push, And I would just get up in the morning. All right, 24 hours is up. Drop the flyer. Boom. Go to work, do what I got to do.
Mm-hmm.
And it was interesting getting to the session and seeing people, and they're like, yeah, I heard about this. Not from social media. I heard about this in passing conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Or talking to musicians like, yeah, I told some people that were at work about this. That's why they're here.
Mm-hmm.
Or I heard about this because of this. So I'm like, okay, so all right, God.
I call
So
those
what is it
Yeah,
gonna
God
look
moments.
like when I really strategize socially to really push this? Like, how is that gonna look from there? And then even like talking to the people that come, they're just like, oh yeah, I'm coming back. Like, I may not be here every Thursday, but I'm coming back because I like the vibe.
Right.
I like what's going on here. Like, I like this setup compared to the previous setup.
Yeah.
Like, this is that. Like, even having like one guy, he's a singer, he came through and he was like, yeah, man, he said, I don't know what it is about you, but it's something different. And I know it's you, but you just make the space different.
Yeah.
He was like, because I was real hesitant to come over here. But I came in, I sat in the back and I watched. And he was like, and you did something. I don't remember, but you did something. And it was just like, okay, cool. This is a good space.
Yeah.
And I was like, cool. But I say that to say that for me is even a stretching of faith. Because when you say, especially in our society, when you say I'm going to put down a thing for 40 days that essentially we've deemed we need.
Mm-hmm.
And we go, okay, God, I'm going to put this down. And go. And he's like, I'm going to move when I move.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to see how disciplined you going to be in putting that down. Because in the process of that, I'm going to show you some things about you where I can help you redirect some of that time, space, and energy to better you. So it's like, I'm very cautious of that. And like, and Salo knows me, like we talk, but I have like this kind of Ninja Houdini mentality about me. It's like I can show up spots and then disappear, and I can show up spots and then disappear. And it's like, I think COVID was probably the funnest time for me.
Me too.
Because I would just show up in a jogger with a hood, mask on, and I, like, let's say Solomon's there, he's playing, and I'll just show up, be standing right next to him, like, man, like, everybody sound good, and then leave, and then shoot him a text later, like, dude, you sounded really good tonight. He's like, you were here? I'm like, yeah, I was standing right next to you. It's like, man, if you don't get out of your ninja bag and talk to people, I'm like, man, I just came to get some ice cream and leave anyway. It wasn't that deep. But it's, you know, it's just like those little things that I've learned, because conversation is healthy, but there comes a point where you got to stop conversating and start working. And it's like, yeah, bro, we're trying to do this. All right, cool. How are we actually going about doing it? Because we've been talking about this for 5 years. So how are we going about doing it? How are we going about building it? How are we, you know, even with my session, like, I'm gonna start doing some other things where it's like reaching out to the colleges, like, yo, I got a session, you know, send your kids over here if you want them to really to be exposed to this. Like, send them over here. Now, of course, it's their choice to come over here, but send them over here if you want to be exposed, because what I'm doing is I'm trying to put them in that environment, because some of these institutions don't have, like, when I finished at Salisbury University, 2 of my favorite classes I took in music, one was non-musically related, but they made it music related. The other one was, first class was performance class. Performance class was no credit, but you literally had to perform in front of the faculty and staff. No, in front of the faculty and your fellow, pretty much, department mates.
Right.
You didn't perform a whole piece, just a piece of something, and they would critique you.
Yeah.
They would say, "Oh, like, I mean, now the vocalist, because that school is really known for its vocalists. So the vocalist would be in depth, like, yeah, I can tell, like, you know, you're really doing great breath control here, and you're really working on your vibrato, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Instrumentals, we would just be like, that's cool. You know what I mean? We got juries. This, you know, do what you gotta do. You know, but even in that class, like, once again, like, there were little fallacies I began to see where it's like, yo, you kind of taking advantage of this class because you didn't practice. So it's like, bro, you're not about to sit up here and do a Philip Glass piece talking about some 3 minutes and 50 seconds of silence. You just ain't practice. Like, nah, and I'm gonna call you on it. Like, I'm sitting there, I'm just like, what is going on here? Oh, you doing a Philip Glass piece. What's up, Phil? Did you practice? Because, like, is this gonna be in your jury? Like, nah. Why did you do it?
Yeah, man.
Like, oh, you gotta practice. So I'm gonna finish. I'm gonna get back to you.
Go ahead.
So it's like it's those little things where I look at, like, okay, cool. Like, if you want to do this, then why aren't you using this as your platform to get there? You know, I mean, like I said, I'm not a big social media-ite just because it's a lot of filtration you gotta do on social media. A lot of filtration, and that takes a lot of filters. And I just don't feel like spending that type of money because I have a house and a mortgage. Anyway, but it's like, yo, if you're gonna do this, then get committed to doing that thing. And the challenging part of being committed is having a man in the mirror moment with yourself to say, am I strong enough to stay committed? And if I'm not strong enough, do I have the right environment and people around me to remind me of my commitment for my own personal convictions? Because if I have that, I'll stay committed. Even when I want to run from it, I'll stay committed. I mean, you know, even Jesus praying in the garden, he prays to his Father that he does not have to be crucified. But in that moment, his spirit man wakes up and he says, okay, but not thine will, let your will be done. So he had the foundation to say, I really don't want to do this. But the bigger picture, which is beyond me, I have to do this. So I'm going to have to count on all joy. And because I know it's going to happen, I am going to have to suck it up and do this, because it's really not about, at this moment, my selfish flesh need. It's about the greater spiritual need for the people I've been around for 3.5 years. You got it. I'm done because I know I got to go home soon.
Sorry. The thing I was going to say is, for me, my bullshit is, I'm actually a very, like, I'm very good at keeping a routine. Like, I graduated top 5% of my high school, and like I always got good grades, and I was a star athlete, and like and I did well in corporate. So the doing the same thing that is the high bar is never hard for me. For me, it was like, okay, well, because that is easy, and that gets me where I need to be, where I want to be, then all the other things about my life that needed to be purged, a lot of them I was like, some of them I knew. A lot of them I was kind of blind to. I think that, so I was in a relationship last year, and I haven't been married yet. And half fuck girl, half healing girl. This wonderful man is like, he wants to marry me. And that sounded great. Like, all the girlies want to get married, right? But then he was reflecting all of these things to me that I knew were there. But I was like, if I deal with that shit, it's going to kill me. And it wasn't about work. It was about like my family's trauma. It was a lot of the intergenerational curses that I have inherited, that I was like, well, these aren't really going to affect my kids, I think. And it's going to be really hard to deal with it. So I'm just going to like stuff it down and make $1 million. And when I make $1 million, I'll have enough money to like take a year off from work, and then I can deal with it. And this man is a millionaire, right? And so he's like, yeah, it doesn't work like that. Like, you might make $1 million, you're still going to be fucking sad. That's number one. Number two, you may never get there. Number three, he used to always say, he's like, you could be a wife if you wanted to be. You have all the things. And that shit would hurt my feelings, because I was like, I had told myself this whole story about like, I just hadn't met the right person because of all of these things. For someone to be like, you are already it, but you don't even see it. It really like put into perspective for me how deep the trauma was. And so I remember going to my therapist, and I tell her a story, and I'm like, okay, I want to work on this. She said, finally. I was waiting for you to figure out you need to do something about that. And I was like, bitch, you knew? What do you get paid for? She was like, I was trying to tell you, but you weren't listening. I'm like, try harder next time, because you just let me struggle for like a year. It's crazy.
Wow.
But yeah, for me, it was like, they say the single most important decision you'll probably make as an adult is who you choose to marry, like your spouse. And I went through abuse as a child that affected, I mean, there's going to be another podcast, a different podcast. It's going to come out soon. It's going to talk about it. Anyways. But I was sexually abused by my stepfather, and I forgot that it happened. 2, I didn't realize that it made me think that I was not worthy of male romantic love. Like, my cousins were wonderful to me. My grandparents were wonderful to me. My brothers were wonderful to me. So I knew that men could be wonderful. And I loved having friendships. But anytime a man tried to love me, I was like, don't do it. Like, it's dangerous over there. And so that was what got reflected back to me. And he just kept, usually when we would get to, like, I'd be in a relationship and I'd get to that place, the guy would be like, fuck it. Like, you don't want to try, so fuck it. This nigga was like, what is it? Excuse me. He wouldn't give up. And I was getting really frustrated with him. And, oops, I keep breaking the thing. And then this one day came where he was like, essentially he's like, I can't try harder for you than you will try for yourself. And I had been the beneficiary of the spiritual covering and the spiritual discipline that he was like instilling in me. And I saw there were so many like glory moments that were happening in the relationship, and I was just like, this is beautiful. And he's like, yeah, but like you can't experience all of this, but like all of these traumas, demons are there, and you just don't, you know. And so I ironically, the beginning of the year, I didn't do Lent, but the things that I knew I needed to like remove or do, I started doing. Like I joined a women's ministry. I took a vow of abstinence, and I started listening to other women's stories, and I realized that I also was avoiding women, like anybody that reminded me of my mom, because I blamed, it wasn't her fault, and she didn't know. But subconsciously as a child, I blamed her for not protecting me because she was my parent in the situation. So anytime I'd get really close to, especially older women, that would also be challenging. And so I'm in this women's ministry with these women who have very similar background. All of them have very similar backgrounds. And I realized that every time I was showing up really vulnerably, like I was a beginner. Like this shit hurts to go on this purge. It's like literally hurting my body. I'm telling them like I'm having nightmares and my stomach hurt, and like one night I woke up, I felt nauseous. I was like, what is this? And they were like, oh my god, I felt that too. And I was like, well, why didn't y'all bitches say anything? I thought I was broken. They were like, no girl, that happens all the time. And so because I was the first one and I kept doing it, then the other women started doing it. And the very first day that I shared, there was a girl in the group that was like, come to my house. I was like, no, I don't know you. I had never seen her before. Like all of this was virtual, because also there's a lot of shame for women in society to talk about sexual trauma or any type of sexual issues, right? And so a lot of these women's groups, even though they're still faith-based, don't actually like meet inside of the church. They're virtual. And I was like, you guys, I was like, we gotta meet in person. I was like, does anybody else want to meet in person? Because I'm dying to meet in person. They were like, me too. I was like, great. I was like, can we do it soon? They were like, no. I was like, damn. I was like, can we start a text group? They were like, I would love a text group. I said, great. So that's where I was like sending the messages. So in the text group, I tell one of the girls, you know, what's going on. She says, come to our house. I was like, no. She said, come. She said, I only have the next hour available. Come now. My door is unlocked. Just walk in. I was like, okay, fuck. So I put my clothes on. She's like, are you coming? I was like, she called me.
Yeah.
Because she knew I wasn't coming. She's like, are you coming? I said, damn it. Because you can ignore a text message. You could be like,
Right.
I didn't see it. The hour has passed. You're busy. I'm sorry. Excuses, right? I said, okay, I'm coming. So the whole time I'm driving, I'm like, this is fucking stupid. Like, why am I doing this? Going to this strange woman's house. And I get there, and she's so pleasant. And she's like, you had a nightmare? And I'm like, I'm here for a nightmare also. This also is stupid. So I tell her about the nightmare, and I tell her about my abuse and everything. And then she tells me that she had also went through something. She doesn't share what. She said, but you're not broken, and you're not alone. And I cried. Like, I don't know if I cried then, but I definitely continuously cried for like a week. I was like, God, I've been holding this thing my whole fucking life. And then all of a sudden, in a month's time, I had a place to put all of it.
Yeah.
I had a community that didn't feel like it was too heavy and actually required me to tell my story because they needed me to do that so they could also heal. And it still feels really scary and raw and like weird. I'm even telling y'all this, right?
Oh, this is
But
a safe space.
I appreciate you. But the pivotal moment that happened for me with all of it was there was this young woman who asked me to meet at like one of the men's meetings because the women don't meet, right? So I go with her, and we're talking about the things we're going through, and I share that the thing that I'm going through is healing from my sexual abuse. And it's like 20 men in the room. It's like 40 on Zoom. And in the middle of saying it, I was like, what are you doing? What is wrong with you? There's only one other woman in the room. She is next to me, okay? So I start bawling, crying.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God. I was like, thank you for letting me share this. I just felt like I needed to say it. And I'm so thankful for this community because I needed God in a way that I didn't know I needed him, you know? And she was like rubbing my back, and like one of the other guys who was like leading the group came over. Well, not other guys, but one of the guys that was leading the group came over and was like, do you women need like space to hold your meeting?
Yeah.
And I was like, yes. We do need space. I didn't even ask him. I'm like, how did he know? You know? And so, since I've been unburdening that space, Audre Lorde talks about it. She talks about how like erotic energy is also part and parcel to creative energy. And when that is blocked, you cannot create well. Ever since I've been like healing that space, my creativity has been like through the fucking roof. And the energy I'm attracting has been so good. Like the models at the show, one of the models was like every single person she talked to had good energy.
Yeah.
She was like, I've never experienced that shit before.
Yeah.
She was like, I'm coming to every show because that was fucking beautiful.
Right.
She was like, you must have curated this shit. And I remember talking to you about like wanting to create a community that intentionally heals people. Like when they come and they experience something like this, they're getting healed. And to hear that you're making people feel the same way. Like through the council, we're going to have an event calendar. Everything's not going to be fashion. Actually, most of it probably won't be because fashion's very sporadic. Nobody's doing a fashion show every week. Right. But we need artistic places to come to commune, to heal, to be inspired. You know what I'm saying? And so I told, Keith, and I was like, I want this to be one of the things on the calendar, but I want to put your event, I want to come. I want to put you on the calendar too because, yeah, like last year when Bopa was going through everything it was going through, right? One of the things... One of the things that, a few of my friends that were working there were saying was like how heavy it was to be going through that transition and that there was no place to go.
It's still kind of heavy.
It is still heavy.
I'm saying it off the mic.
Yeah.
There was no place to go, like in an artist community to be refueled. I think that, and this is the last thing I'll say about it, but I think God blesses me with the gift of leadership or maybe teaching, right? And even in the space of, the women's group, then the women are like, oh, like now I'm like co-leading the group. I'm like, I just got here. It don't even make sense, but whatever. But I think that we often forget as leaders in the spaces that we're in that we also need to be refueled. We need a place to unburden the heaviness of carrying a community on our shoulders. We don't think of it like when the community organizers for social justice work go out into the streets and they bring the masses to do protests. We're like, that shit's heavy, right? But we don't think about what we're doing, being social justice work and also being heavy. It's super. Every time you go into a space and you're like, the artists that do this set with me need to be paid a certain amount.
Mm-hmm.
Every time you open space to someone like me to have a platform, you're doing community work. So I think it's really beautiful that you're bringing kindred spirits into a space where we can start to think about this maybe in a little bit more of a structured way. You know what I'm saying? Like intentionally connecting the dots so that this artist community can then support the next pillar of this community that we're going to be building, because there's some really phenomenal work going on nationally.
Yeah.
And even here, where like there's a guy who just bought a block on Baltimore Street, and he wants it to be the first block for a Black Wall Street. And he calls me in, like I went to go see it Thursday, because he heard me basically tell the white professor to fuck off at University of Maryland. He was like, I like your energy. You should come see my block. So I went to see his block, and he's like, how do I get people to like come here? Why would they want to come here? And I was like, because they want to be free.
Right.
Essentially is what I said. Right? Like people go anywhere if they think they can and actually could be free.
Right.
And other people will come with them. And those will be great quality human beings, you know? And so it's people like him, you know, where he's on the real estate side, but he has physical space. And he wants to do things to build from an architectural space. And I'm like, I'm telling him about the set that I saw at Campground. He was like, I love shit like that. Invite me. But he's also talking about the work being heavy. You know, he's like, I feel burdened. He's like, sometimes I just wake up, I'm like, fuck it, I should just sell the building and like say, what am I doing? And I'm just like, I think we all have those moments, but if we give up, then who will continue the work?
Right.
So, thank you for. No, don't clap. Don't clap.
Taija, the building, man. Oh my gosh! A round of applause from the ancestors. This room is filled up.
I just want to say thanks for having me.
Yo,
I appreciate it.
Phil Thomas.
I appreciate
Terra Cafe on Thursday nights. What time?
7 p.m. to 9 p.m.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, man, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. It's funny that you said what you said, though, about the model saying what she's saying, right? Because it's funny. I always say that I curate people like I curate art. You feel me? So, like I was working with that nonprofit. It's funny because I was working with a nonprofit, president of a nonprofit, brought everybody to be a part of the board, built the board, put everybody together, and then realized that I had to take a step back. So I basically built a whole board as the president, and then stepped back and stepped down as the president. But this elder who was trying to build a board for this nonprofit for like 2-3 years was like, you have not introduced me to one single person that I don't like. You feel me? So it's like, that work that you're doing, that we doing, we really curate in this community, man. Because even with some stuff that you're talking about, I'm a stickler for good fucking people. I'm a stickler for like, you feel me? You got to be a good human being.
Listen,
to fuck
I saw
with
it in your eyes at the fashion show. You were like, "Who is fucking with you?" I was like,
I should have said that to his ass. Like, you feel me? Like, you know me, man. I tell you, like, I'm about that. I'm about that shit, man. Like, cause I mean, real quick to something that you said, like when you were talking about the women's group and some of your own personal experience. When I was working at another space before I had my space, you know, I did like a men's group. We did like 2 or 3 of them. But the first one, it was a group of like 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah, about 5, 6 dudes. And then 2 women. One was my friend. She was there to do chair massages. But she had sons. She had 2 sons. So she was kind of like background in the conversation. One thing we realized, though, as men talking, my bro Elliot Yarrow, he was we talked about it after where like a lot of men in that room didn't realize how much sexual trauma young boys go through, right? Because as men,
yeah.
we like as men, and it's like, yo, you a young kid, you a teenager, young teenager, and you got this older woman sexualizing you and doing what you're doing, and as men, we think that's what's supposed to happen. Like, yeah, you, but it's like as young men, you know, we've been, you know, sexualized and shit like that. So it's like it's real interesting that you said what you said too with that. But I'm not trying to start a whole nother conversation. One thing I'm leading to is, you know, with a little bit of what we getting into. Me and Bashi talk about this all the time when it comes to the form of music that we do in terms of, because he's Bashi, you know, he's a thespian first, and then started playing drums as a meditation. But his thing was, you know, improvisation, man, and improvisation being a space where we can heal through the music, through the art, be vulnerable through the art. You know, whatever comes out is whatever comes out. Now, me being a trained musician, I'm still a stickler. Like, okay, we need to learn the rules so we know how to forget them. But you know,
we know how to spoon.
right? You feel me? But it's still,
We know how to look at the spoon and bend it,
you feel me?
and then come back to form.
You know, but even in those moments where he's in his untrained, you know, situations or situations before he was practicing as much, and I might get a little frustrated at his playing. That's still vulnerability and truth coming out. You know, it's just some type of growth, and it's just like, well, am I about to be an asshole to him and act differently towards him, or am I about to have a hard conversation like, bro, I don't like the fucking shit that you're doing, or you need to grow with this, or we need to do that. Like, so it's like those moments of healing, and a lot of times when it gets to the point where we be playing, like every time I play, man, like it gets to a point where, you know, it depends on what gig it is. Will depend on the level of it. But sometimes I'll be completely gone, and I'll be damn near crying while I'm playing, because I'm feeling energies that ancestors is coming through, or like I'm just like deep in it, man. But you know, in the heaviness, in the spirit of the heaviness of the work that we doing, man. Yeah, we about to get into a little bit of shit, but I know we don't really got that much time to get into. But yeah, I'm about to go use a bathroom. We can get ready. Man, make some noise for Taija!
Thank you for having me.
And we had so much more to get into, man. But we gonna have to just do a part two. We're gonna have to do a part two, and we gonna have to do a part two because you got
That
into
is
your
the most.
Ohio.
That is the most interesting segue ever. Like, we're gonna get into this, but first I'm gonna go use this bathroom, and then we're gonna come right on back. That is an interesting segue.
You were such a great addition to the conversation.
Yeah, man, we got to get into some of your background the next time. We got part two coming with Taija Anfield. This in the future.
We are the future.
We are the future. We are the world. It's 1, 2, 3, 4. Hey, or 4, 1, 3. Hey, super divine. Super divine. seconds for the OB. Yeah, place to be. Right here on St. Paul.